Hello guys, this is Dark Fox Sage 2 and we are back with our new fanfic, which is What If Naruto Betrayed Naruto Was Sheltered by Amigakure Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and please subscribe to the channel. It motivates me to upload more fanfic like these for you all. Now let's start the fanfiction. Moaned one blonde ninja known as Uzumaki Naruto, as he tried to lift his hand to cover his eyes from the damn light coming from the window of the room he was currently lying in. Opening his right eye a little to peek at his surroundings, he immediately regretted it as the light falling in his pupil intensified. Some would think why he would open his right eye only. Well, the reason for that would be the swelling of his left eye. The very same eye his so-called brother kicked. Yes, Uzumaki Naruto had failed to knock some sense in Uchiha Sasuke's brain. Adjusting his head so that the light source in room, that is the window, was no longer in his line of sight, Naruto scanned the surroundings of the room. Never thought the heaven was built to look like an inn, or the hell for that matter, he thought, rolling his eyes, an action which made him wince again due to the pain in his left eye. Suddenly the gate of the room opened and a tall figure walked in. The figure lacked any curves, which indicated that the person standing by Naruto's bedside was definitely a male. His jet black hairs were back in a low ponytail, disappearing back in the back of his high-collar shirt. Two strands were falling in front of his face from either side of his eyes, slightly shadowing them. Two lines were clearly visible on his cheeks. The figure was staring at a still Naruto who was doing a very bad job at looking unconscious. His breathing was shallow and his fists were clenched. Eyes squeezed shut and a bead of sweat on his brow was quite easy to spot. "I know you are conscious, so stop pretending otherwise," stated the figure. Naruto suddenly jumped at this but quickly fell back on his back due to the condition of his body. Still he turned his head to look at the face of the figure standing on his bedside. Naruto immediately recognized those lines on the person's cheeks. The stoic look on this person's face was a dead giveaway of who he was anyway. Naruto's eyes widened when realization dawned on him. He was not dead and he definitely was not in heaven. "You Uchiha Itachi," gasped Naruto, suddenly feeling his throat go dry. Shit. Naruto quickly knew that he was done for. Out of all the people to have found him, it has to be this person, Uchiha Itachi. His eyes quickly darted around the room to find possible escape routes, all the while scanning for his weapons with his hands in his kunai pouch. Much to his horror, his pouch was missing. Itachi observed all this with keen interest shining in his black eyes. Uzumaki Naruto was quite an interesting specimen indeed. "Don't bother, I already removed anything you may need to escape, and if it is your weapons pouch you are trying to find, wrong leg," said Itachi coolly. "The hell," said Naruto, but quickly found his pouch on his right thigh, full of his weapons. Before Naruto could use any weapon from his pouch, Itachi moved swiftly and was in front of him, holding his right wrist from reaching into the weapon holder. "Even if I left it there as a show of non-hostility, it doesn't mean you are allowed to use it," said infamous Uchiha. "What do you want? I thought you guys would have extracted the Kyuubi from my gut when I was knocked out," said Naruto with barely contained rage. "First of all, you were unconscious for a week. Second, no, the Kyuubi still resides in the seal on your abdomen, otherwise you won't be alive right now," said Itachi, slowly letting go of Naruto's wrist. Itachi was confident that after telling Naruto about the Kyuubi being still inside him, he would become somewhat less hostile. From the look on Naruto's face, he was right. "Where am I?" asked Naruto while sitting back in the bed. "We're in an inn outside Amigakure, south of High no Kuni," answered Itachi while taking a seat in a nearby chair. Naruto just nodded before his eyes went wide with realization. "What happened to Sasuke?" he asked, jumping to his feet. "Calm down, Naruto, I won't lie to you. Your mission to retrieve Sasuke was a failure," said Itachi while looking down at the floor with some guilt in his eyes if Naruto was seeing correct. "I must go back to Konoha, everyone will be worried about me," said Naruto before he started to reach for the door. "I never said you were allowed to leave the room," said Itachi, stopping Naruto in his track. Naruto turned towards Itachi and stared at him in confusion. What the fuck do you want from me then? And I know it's not the Kyuubi, otherwise I would be dead by now, he asked irritated. Itachi looked at him for a minute as if contemplating with himself regarding what he must say next. Finally, he sighed and motioned Naruto to take his previous position on the bed. Shrugging and grumbling about secretive adults, Naruto walked back to the bed and plopped down on it. What now? Asked Naruto, clearing out of patience. Itachi noted that Naruto was already looking better. There are some perks of being a Jinchuriki as well after all, no matter how less they may be. Naruto, you can't go back to Konoha, stated Itachi, making Naruto give a confused expression. And why is that? Asked Naruto. Because Konoha thinks you're dead, answered Itachi. The fuck? Screamed Naruto as he jumped in Itachi's face. Let me explain, Naruto, said Itachi in a calm tone. Naruto paused for a second, staring at his former best friend's elder brother. Then explain, he said sternly as he sat back on the bed. After the two of you and Sasuke, that is, finished your fight at the Valley of End, Kabuto was sent there by Orochimaru to collect Sasuke's defeated body. You had lost a lot of blood, otherwise I am sure he would have taken you as well. Quote, Jinchuriki or not, no one can survive that much blood loss, but you are a special. I must say Kyuubi's Jinchuriki status and the Uzumaki blood in your veins makes you one tough bird to kill, said Itachi with a barely noticeable smirk. At this, Naruto puffed out his chest with a fist placed near his heart. That I am, Dadbao! Exclaimed Naruto with his head high, pounding a fist on his chest. Regretting the action eventually, Itachi just gave an amused raise of eyebrow at that and continued. After that I reached the valley to investigate the vast chakra usage. By the time I reached your body, you were already dead. What? But I am alive! Exclaimed Naruto while jumping out of his bed. Yes, I am sure you are, but your heart stopped there for a whole minute or so. You were lucky I had another Akatsuki with me instead of Kisame. He saved you using some of his unique abilities. Still, I am sure your contract with Toads is void. Konoha never sent a search party for you. From what our Akatsuki spy told us, they didn't even know you were missing before they checked the roster for your next mission, 3 days later. You are lying, there is no way Konoha will forget me, said Naruto, getting a little angry with the older Uchiha. I have nothing to gain by lying, Naruto. From what I know, it was Jiraiya who told them that you were a KIA, killed in action case. Moreover, those counselors with the backing of the Hokage said that someone like you doesn't deserve his name on the memorial stone. They never made a grave for you, stating that without a body, a grave was meaningless. Even if it was a plain excuse. Naruto was now shocked. His Ba-chan, Kakashi-sensei, Sakura-chan, his friends, everyone just suddenly decided that he was not needed in their lives. All his emotions were now coming to the surface in the form of tears from the corner of his eyes. Even if they had made a grave, those damn villagers would have taken out their anger on that tombstone, whispered Naruto under his breath. I am sorry you had to hear it, I really am, said Itachi, trying to comfort the clearly broken ninja. It's okay, it's not like I am surprised by the council's actions, it's just that even those I considered friends forgot me, mumbled Naruto with teary eyes. Itachi only nodded and continued to observe Naruto closely. Suddenly red chakra started to seep out of Naruto's hands around his clenched fists, transforming them into claws. Naruto, stop. Don't draw on Kyuubi's chakra, said Itachi in an alarmed tone. Naruto snapped out of his stupor and turned towards Itachi with teary eyes. What am I supposed to do now, Ni-san? Asked Naruto. Itachi's eyes grew wide at hearing Naruto call him by his Anbu code name. How did you? Stuttered Itachi. I know you were the Anbu with the boar mask who always protected me from mobs. I still remember when you took a kunai in your shoulder to save me from a Jonin. I asked Kakashi-sensei for your identity once, but he refused. Then I asked Hokage Ji-san and he told your identity. Actually, he told me a lot about you. This changed the situation now as Itachi quickly kneeled in front of Naruto and placed both of his hands on his shoulders. Naruto-kun, you must understand that whatever I did to you and the Uchiha clan, I did it for the safety of our village. He said in a brotherly tone. I understand Ni-san, said Naruto before quickly lunging forward and taking Itachi in a hug. Itachi was surprised at first by the sudden physical contact of affection from the blonde, but relaxed in the hug. Breaking the hug, Naruto looked at Itachi's face and asked, so what am I supposed to do now, Ni-san? At this Itachi got a solemn look on his face. Well, first, we must make sure you do not die from your condition, he replied. What do you mean my condition? Asked a worried Naruto. When you fought Sasuke at the Valley of End, he was using his curse mark, right? Asked Itachi. Well, yeah, and he drove that Chidori of his in my left shoulder. It still hurts like a bitch, answered Naruto, holding his left side of chest. Yes, well, when he was using that chakra and drove that Chidori in your chest, that tainted chakra of curse seal entered your system. Right now it is fighting the Kyuubi's chakra for dominance, resulting in destruction of your chakra along with your chakra network. How? I thought Kyuubi's chakra was the most powerful chakra there is. Asked a worried Naruto. Well, that's right. Kyuubi's chakra really is the most powerful chakra in the world, but you must know, Naruto-kun, even the best can be bested, replied Itachi. On seeing a confused look on Naruto's face, he decided to elaborate. Kyuubi's chakra is not that much powerful when inside you. The most it can do is healing and defending your body from poisons and diseases. It's treating the foreign chakra as a virus right now, battling it for dominance. Corroding your blood vessels as well as chakra system. So how much damage is already done? Asked a fearful Naruto. Quite a lot, from what I can tell using my Sharingan. However, there is a way to save you. When I brought you here, I injected you with my blood to give you a little boost in energy to stay alive. And that means? Asked Naruto again. We are going to need a new body for you, that's all, stated Itachi in a matter-of-factly tone. And how am I going to get this new body of mine? Please do tell, asked Naruto, rolling his eyes. Now that's where other Akatsuki members come in, said Itachi while turning to point towards the door of the room. The door opened and in walked two Akatsuki members. Naruto quickly observed their appearances. The first one to walk inside was definitely female, as her body was filled at all the right places. Her pale blue hairs were tucked neatly in a high bun behind her head with a paper flower in it. She had a piercing under her lower lip and was wearing a light blue eye shade. Her amber eyes were firmly gazing at him as if she was judging him with her gaze only. Naruto was fine with her gaze, as it was better than the glares he regularly received in Konoha. The other guy, or rather being, was what confused and to some extent, scared him. Naruto couldn't tell if this member was a male or a female, thus he went with the male guess. His right side of the face was completely black with a round yellow thing as his eye. His left side of the face was nearly white and had green-colored eye. His teeth were sharp, if what Naruto saw was any indication. A mop of green hairs sat on his head. The weirdest thing in his appearance was a pitcher plant-like structure surrounding his upper torso. The plant-like thing easily reached a foot higher than his head, adding a lot to his height. So this is the kid you told me about? Asked the female. Yes, this is Naruto-kun. Naruto-kun, meet Konan-san and Zetsu, introduced Itachi, motioning towards the named individuals. Nice to meet you, replied Naruto meekly. The kid is quite fragile and his aura is that of a joker, yet the power radiating from him is that of a Jonin. His chakra is even more than that of an elite Jonin, bordering cage level. He may be the most suitable candidate for our job, thought an expressionless Konan before realizing that she never greeted him for his greetings. Nice to meet you as well, Uzumaki Naruto, she greeted back, nodding her head, though still emotionless. Ohio, Naruto, chimed white Zetsu from behind her. Naruto-kun, it was Zetsu who saved you at the Valley of End, like I mentioned before, using his unique abilities. As for Konan-san, she will be the one providing the body, explained Itachi. Arigato, Zetsu-san, for saving my life, said Naruto, bowing. It was no problem, Uzumaki, replied the black Zetsu. Suddenly Konan turned towards the door, but before opening it, she turned her head back towards Itachi. Get him ready, Pain will be meeting him soon. Make sure to get him to aim before Pain gets upset. With that, she left. White Zetsu chuckled and turned towards Naruto. See ya at aim, later, and started to sink in the floor of the room, much to the shock of Naruto. Don't worry, you'll get used to that. He always travels that way. Even I was a little surprised back there when he came walking in the room, said Itachi after the departure of said Akatsuki member. Huh, was Naruto's bright response. Itachi just shook his head at the blonde in front of him and was about to say something when a clone of White Zetsu popped out of the floor. Almost forgot to give these, Naruto. Konan-san gave me these for you, said the clone and threw a packet at Naruto, which was caught by Itachi. The clone just shrugged and disappeared. Itachi opened the packet and inspected the contents, before giving it to Naruto. Go and get changed. Zetsu will be here to help you when we leave. I am going to get you something to eat. Any preferences? Asked Itachi. Ramen. Naruto was quick to reply. Itachi just gave a smile that was easily to consider as a rare twitch of his lips. Why am I not surprised? Itachi asked himself before nodding and leaving the room. Naruto quickly, though with a lot of pain and struggle, went to the bathroom to change. With Itachi. Itachi was walking in the dining area of the inn. After all this time, Naruto-kun still remembers my boar persona. It shows how less contact he had had with other Konoha shinobi, thought Itachi. Strolling towards the counter for orders, he motioned the waiter at the desk. Yes, sir. What can I get you? Asked the waiter politely. 5 bowls of miso ramen and a vegetable salad. Itachi gave his order, all the while looking in the eyes of the waiter with his Sharingan. He was in no mood of dealing with any questions regarding the large amount of ramen he ordered. Right away, sir, replied a glazed-eyed waiter before turning around and heading inside the kitchen. Itachi just sighed and turned towards one of the empty tables nearby. Taking a seat, he started to reflect on the recent incidents in his Akatsuki profession. Flashback 6 months ago. Itachi was sitting in his room in Pain's Tower. In front of him on the desk was an unfinished intel report for Jiraiya, or rather, Konoha. He was contemplating on whether he should continue supporting a village like what Konoha had become in past several years. Especially after the death of Sandaime Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. Thought he was ashamed to admit that the village started to corrupt just after the death of Yondaime-sama Namikaze Minato. Still he had faith in his village and accepted the Uchiha clan massacre. He never wanted to kill his own clan, much less his own parents. He loved his mother, Uchiha Makoto. Whenever he came back from a tiring day, his father always asked, "Did something of importance happen?" It was his mother who always asked, "How was your day, Sochi?" Or, "Should I bring something for you to eat?" He had to kill them all just because a man planned to start a coup d'état and kill the Hokage along with wiping the Uchiha clan. Shimura Danzo. That old war hawk used some of his Uchiha goons to spark the idea of coup d'état in the clan. Then he went after Uchiha Shisui, his best friend, to take his eyes. Itachi found out about all this after he joined the Akatsuki and squeezed it out of a Zetsu clone. Apparently, memories of a Zetsu clone are not transferred back to original, something that came in handy. Itachi was about to reach a decision that could change the fate of Konoha and Akatsuki when there was a knock on the door. He knew that it wasn't Kisame because the walking sushi always conversed with his sword when walking. This one was silent. Sasori and Zetsu, along with Pain and Tobi, will never knock for obvious reasons of their own. Remaining male members were not used to the light knocking he just heard. That leaves her. Turning back towards his desk and hiding the report in his cloak, he activated his Sharingan and toned. You may come in, Conan-san. The door opened and the blue-haired beauty walked in. Her expression was the same, emotionless, but Itachi's Sharingan caught the trails of mascara on her cheeks. She had been crying. What is it? He asked cautiously. I need your help. Flashback ends. The waiter took Itachi out of his memory road. Your order, sir, said the waiter with a large tray in hand. 5 bowls of ramen and 1 of salad. Please deliver the ramen at room number 17, my little brother will receive it, said Itachi while taking his salad. As you wish, sir, said the waiter before motioning a room service woman to take the order to Itachi's room. Itachi again started to think about that day all the while chewing on his salad. Flashback. What for? Itachi asked back. Tobi, or should I say, Uchiha Madara, attacked Nagato last night. Itachi's eyes widened after hearing this. He was the only one Nagato trusted to know about the secrets of Akatsuki. He knew about Nagato being behind Pain and Uchiha Madara's fake aka Tobi. That's why some of his recent missions were paired up with Zetsu, Toba's lap dog. What? Why? How? Asked Itachi, clearly confused with what he just heard. Conan struggled to maintain her composure and replied. He said that Nagato was no longer fit to leader Akatsuki, said that he needed to kill him to take over Akatsuki, to complete his Mugen Tatsukyomi, he needs his Rinnegan. Itachi suddenly became aware of the danger the world was in. If someone like Tobi got control over top S-ranked shinobis, it would be a massacre. Where is he? Asked Itachi in a sense of dread. Who? Asked Conan to confirm whom Itachi was talking about. Nagato. I don't have time to care for what Tobi is planning with Akatsuki. He was profusely bleeding when I reached him. I did what I could, but he is still dying. Let's go. I want to meet him now. With that, both of them left to reach the top floor of the tower. On reaching the top floor, Conan went to a wall trigger in Pain's office and pulled it down. The wall separated to reveal a secret room behind it. Lying in the middle of the room, on a futon, was the former leader of Akatsuki and the wielder of Rinnegan. Nagato was wrapped in bandages from his shoulders to his lower abdomen. Patches of red could be seen on the bandages indicating recent bleeding. Conan quickly moved to his side and started to check the bandages for any too tight fits. Itachi slowly walked towards him and stood at the foot of the bed. Nagato cracked open an eye to look at the Uchiha heir. Even with his Mangekyo, Itachi always felt weak in front of those legendary orbs. God's eyes, not from Fast and Furious 7, as they were called by ancient societies and people at certain temples. Itachi, croaked Nagato. Nagato, replied Itachi. I am dying. I can see that. Same case as mine. Tell me, do you remember your brother, the one you encounter in Konoha? Asked Nagato while turning his head a little to facilitate Conan's checkup. What does it have to do with Sasuke? Asked a confused Itachi. Nagato chuckled and ended up coughing up some blood. After Conan helped him to get rid of the coughing fit by sitting him up, he said. Not him, the other one. Itachi gave a confused look before realization dawned on him. Not him, thought Itachi, giving a wide-eyed look. Nagato saw this as barely controlled himself from laughing in his face. I can see that you know whom I am talking about. Konoha no Uzumaki Naruto, Kyuubi no Jinchuriki. What do you need from him? Asked Itachi, feeling a little overprotectiveness. In reality, Itachi never intended on capturing Naruto, he only visited Konoha to get to know about Sasuke's and Naruto's level of power. Though he only managed to engage Sasuke in combat, which was disappointing, he knew that Naruto was more powerful than Sasuke. Itachi knew why Naruto had a bridge named after him in Wave. He was a powerful shinobi for his age and a powerful asset for future of Konoha. If Kisame had captured Naruto, he would have ordered a tactical retreat to save the blonde. I am not going after him again, Nagato, stated Itachi with a glare. Nagato just smiled and raised a hand to stop Conan from shuffling on his side. Conan quickly backed away and stood intently to hear what her friend had to say. What makes you think that I want him captured, Itachi? asked Nagato. When Itachi and Konan just continued to stare at him, expecting an answer, he continued. I timed your visit in such a way that you will face maximum obstacles, Asuma Sarutobi, Maeda Guy and Sharingan no Kakashi being there to name a few. However, most of all, Jiraiya Sensei was there with him. You see, I never wanted to capture the little Uzumaki, after all, he is my last known kin. Itachi and Konan were now shocked. What was Nagato babbling about? What do you mean last known kin? Asked a shocked Konan. My real name is, or rather, full name is Uzumaki Nagato, replied Nagato. That answered most of the upcoming questions together. Now Itachi thought that it was Nagato who was secretly helping him, not Tobi. Itachi always thought that it was Tobi helping him after the night of massacre. You mean to say that you are a relative of the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki? Asked Konan. You can say that, smiled Nagato. So what do you need him for? Asked Itachi. You know how he is treated in Konoha, I won't be surprised if they assign him suicide missions in future, to get rid of him and their enemies of course. Itachi nodded at this. He knew exactly what Naruto suffered at hands of Konoha villagers and shinobi alike. He was there to save him most of the times after all. I want him to take my place as Pain. I want him to start acting like an Uzumaki. I am dying but Madara must be stopped at all costs. I intended to collect all the bijus and hide them from the world. Without them, without their special weapons, villages will think twice before starting a war. Akatsuki must fulfill that agenda. Madara's Eye of the Moon plan is too risky and dangerous. Only the wielder of Kyuubi's immense power can defeat him. I want you to bring him to me, train him with me, make him the pain I failed to become, make him the god I failed to become. Itachi and Konan were silent for a while. This sounded a lot like a dying man's last wish. They will fulfill it for this friend. Flashback ends. Itachi sighed again. They had fulfilled Nagato's wish. From what he could tell, the chakra drug poison Madara used on Nagato will kill him in another 6 months. Something about the matter of Rinnegan. It is said on the Uchiha tablets that Rinnegan can only be transferred from one host to other in 2 ways. Either the first host willingly donates the eyes or the host dies a natural death, not killed. At least that was what Nagato told him about after reading the tablets himself with those orbs. Madara was using the second way. Once Nagato died he will take the Rinnegan from the corpse. Naruto must change bodies before both him and Nagato die. The tainted chakra from the curse seal and Kyuubi's chakra were battling for dominance in his body, corroding it from inside. Nagato may be able to help with the body problem but Zetsu will definitely inform Madara about Naruto. Damn it, why everyone close to me has to go and fall in dangerous situations. First the clan, then Sasuke and now Naruto-kun, thought Itachi, cursing inwards. Whatever happens, I will protect Naruto with my life. With that, Itachi stood up and walked away. Next day. Amegakure. Pain's Tower. Naruto and Itachi, along with Konan were standing in front of a set of large gates, gates leading to Pain's office to be more specific. Let's go, said Konan before knocking at the door. Naruto gulped and clutched Itachi's cloak firmly in his fists. Come in, came a hollow voice from the other side, and they quickly entered the office. There in front of them was the reason for their visit, Nagato. He was sitting in his seat behind his desk with his back towards them, his eyes gazing outside the office window. Uzumaki Naruto, I was informed that you were in need of some serious training as well as a new body, stated Nagato. Naruto again gulped and just nodded dumbly. Somehow, he knew that this guy could see him not even with his back facing them. Good, your new body is in that container at the side, go take a look. All 3 of them turned and approached the container. Naruto was nervous. After all, how many could say that they chose which body they wanted? Itachi quickly pushed a button on the side of the container and its cover moved to the side. The cover revealed the body of a man roughly the age of Itachi or Kakashi. Orange hair, angular and lean face. 3 piercings on either side of the nose, piercings under the lower lip with some on both ears. This was the body of Yahiko. Conan gasped and turned towards Nagato. Why his body? You know how much he meant to us, to me. She asked, almost crying. Yahiko was my best friend Conan. I am going to die soon. Akatsuki do not need me, they need the founder, Yahiko. He must live on. I am sure he would have wanted that as well, replied Nagato, now turning to face the 3 of them. From your words, it seems he is of your age, then why does he look so young? Asked a confused Naruto. Because he died a long time ago, answered Itachi, observing the body in front of him. This was the face of pain for other Akatsuki members. Now Naruto, your training will start from tomorrow, all 3 of us will be training you, now go and rest. Conan, show him his room, as for you Itachi, I have some matters to discuss with you, said Nagato, before sitting back in his seat. Naruto only had one thought. This is going to be one hell of a training. 3 months later. The training room, Pain's Tower . Naruto stood in front of Itachi with dirt on his face and bruises covering his body. His hairs were sticking to his forehead due to the dirt and sweat. He was wearing an Uchiha-styled t-shirt, like Itachi used to wear in Sasuke's childhood memories, with the Uchiha clan symbol on his back. Black pants with many pockets completed his attire. No Hetai-8 was visible anywhere on his small frame though. Itachi himself was not wearing his Akatsuki cloak, instead he was sporting his mesh shirt and gray pants. His eyes were firmly locked with Naruto's deep blue orbs in a stare contest. They were sparring to test the progress level of Naruto's taijutsu. If the bruises Naruto was sporting were any indication, Itachi was not pulling back his kicks and punches. Itachi himself sported some dirt in his hair as he had been on the receiving end of Naruto's Uzumaki barrage. Start taking it seriously Naruto-kun, or else I will have to kick it up a notch, said Itachi with a stern look. Naruto gulped but nodded anyways and changed his stance again. Now his right leg was stretched back, his left hand stretched outwards with his palm facing upwards while his right hand was near his chest with a ram seal formed. Itachi nodded again, recognizing the stance and shot forward, intending on finishing the fight in one single attack. He appeared in front of Naruto and tried to kick him in his chest. Naruto effectively blocked the attack by bringing his guard up. Itachi, after having his kick blocked, quickly spun on his heel and tried to deliver a kick to Naruto's neck from behind. Naruto saw the incoming kick and the power it packed and quickly ducked under it, blocking it would have been nasty for him. Itachi used his right hand and pulled Naruto down by grabbing his neck, while trying to knee him in the face. Naruto dodged quickly by disappearing and appearing behind him, his fist pulled back to punch Itachi in the side. Itachi knew what was coming, thus he moved at lightning speed and elbowed Naruto in the gut. Naruto staggered back while coughing and holding his stomach. Itachi never waited for him to catch his breath and turned to face him. Naruto looked up at Itachi, only to be blindsided by a punch to his right cheek. He fell back on his butt from the power behind the punch. Itachi relaxed and offered his hand to his fallen brother. Naruto knew from experience that if he took the hand, Itachi was going to bob him on his head and then knee him in the face. Itachi was wondering why Naruto was hesitating but nearly smirked when Naruto reached for his hand. Sometimes you are too trusting for your own good, Naruto, thought a smirking Itachi. Just as Naruto grabbed his hand, Itachi moved to bob him on his head. In a flash, Naruto turned around and slammed Itachi on the ground by lifting him like a wrestler. Ah, moaned Itachi after meeting the ground. Naruto didn't wait for Itachi to get back on his feet. He quickly jumped on Itachi's stomach and sat down on him. I won, said Naruto while smiling a little. He had stopped grinning after starting his training 3 months ago. Even his smile was becoming a rare sight for the 3 senseis of his. Itachi took care of his battlefield training, i.e., Genjutsu, Taijutsu, Kenjutsu and Ninjutsu. Naruto spent 6 hours of the day training with Itachi. Kisame was told that Itachi was suffering from the bad after effects of his disease and was under a probation period. Yes, with the help of some powerful Uzumaki blood from Naruto and a little chakra manipulation by Nagato, Konan was able to cure Itachi's disease, or at least that's what they assumed. Why didn't they use Nagato's blood, you ask? The answer is that the Rinnegan had altered Nagato's genes, making it dangerous to use his blood for any kind of treatment. Speaking of Konan and Nagato, Konan started to teach Naruto everything that he never learned at the academy, reason being discriminating teachers, of course. Naruto spent at least 3 hours a day with her to learn about the history of the shinobi world as well as other important things such as geography of elemental nations, weather conditions of different villages, laws and conducts of shinobis and things like that. As for Nagato, he would point out flaws in Naruto's stances and hand seal sequences to make him as perfect as possible. After all, no one is ever perfect. There are always scopes for improvement via practice and training. Namikaze.77991 once said, "Practice makes a man perfect." Yeah, it was me, bookworms. Naruto also spent his free time talking with Nagato about his views of shinobi world, about the late Uzumaki clan and about Akatsuki's motives. He was going to replace him soon after all. He will be taking his place in Akatsuki as the organization's new leader, Pain. As for Akatsuki, Madara aka Tobi, had revealed his Madara persona in front of all the members. There was uproar among the Akatsuki as they questioned the whereabouts of Pain, but after beating down Hidan and Deidara, he proved his power as the new leader of Akatsuki and established his dominance. The orders were the same, that is why no one objected, though Sasori and Kakuzu were a little reluctant at first, but their resistance was settled down after some time. Hidan and Kakuzu were still bounty hunting to raise funds for the organization, whereas Sasori and Deidara were ordered to start planning the capture of Ikibi no Tenuki. Kisame was working with Zetsu on collecting information about the whereabouts of other Jinchurikis. Nagato was gradually losing his chakra. He was no longer able to use all 6 paths at the same time. He could only use one path at a time, barely 2 when risking proponing his death. He was afraid that if they delayed Naruto's soul transfer in Yahiko's body any longer, he may not be able to perform the ritual. Itachi knew this as well, that's why he was doing everything he could to make Naruto as powerful as possible in the short period of time. Soon they will perform the ritual and Naruto will have a new body, which will come with many responsibilities and burdens. Obito's quarters Obito, what are we going to do now? Nagato is planning to use Preta Path's power on Uzumaki to give him a new body, asked Black Zetsu. Yes, Konan is preparing necessary medicines to boost Nagato's chakra for a short interval of time. Itachi is also giving his all in training the blondie, added White Zetsu. I will do nothing for now. All 3 of them are training Naruto together, that would make him a good addition to Akatsuki. Even the power of Nagato's Preta Path will not be able to transfer Naruto's presence of mind from one body to another, it'll not be enough. Once he fails and Kid dies again, I will take little Naruto's body from them and you will revive him. Answered Obito with his lone Sharingan eye spinning behind his mask. And this time, he would only be a shell without any brain, which you will mold in a loyal subordinate, if I may, a well-thought plan indeed, stated the Black Zetsu. Exactly, after dying this time, his brain will die for sure and I will get his Uzumaki body to do my bidding, said Obito while smirking behind his mask. Soon Naruto, soon you will call me master and the power of Kyuubi will be under my fist, thought Obito before turning around and walking inside his quarters. Pain's office Itachi, how is Naruto's training going? Asked Nagato. All 3 of Naruto's senseis were present inside Pain's office, discussing about Naruto's condition as well as his progress. All I can say is that he is a natural. He is like a ninjutsu sponge and absorbs any type of ninjutsu that I teach him. Taijutsu is getting better day by day and he is easily chunin level at it, seeing as he was able to knock me down in our last session, even though I was holding back. Itachi's answered with a thoughtful look. That's good, Is there anything else we should know? Asked Conan while Nagato only nodded. Yes, his kenjutsu is also improving by leaps and bounds, though I am ashamed to report that his genjutsu is worse than an academy student, even after I trained him using my Sharingan. I don't think he will ever be able to dispel a genjutsu, much less cast one, reported Itachi with shame evident in his voice. He, Uchiha Itachi, was training Naruto. He was feared for many reasons in the elemental nations. Massacring his own clan, entering Anbu at the age of 12, his mastery over Kaden jutsus, to name a few, but the most feared ability or accomplishment of his were his unparalleled genjutsu abilities, which were only second to Uchiha Shisui. That won't be any problem because I have something in mind to help us with that, said Nagato. Both of his subordinates nodded while glancing at the body of Yahiko, which was being used by Nagato right now. His reason to use it was that he wanted to force his chakra coils to remember how to control a path so that the ritual wasn't made impossible. Also to keep the body in movable condition because it will be used by Naruto in near future. Itachi, what happened about the task I gave you the day we started Naruto-kun's training? Asked Nagato while walking towards a pod of metal casing. No, I never got the chance and you said that I should do it just before the ritual, so I was waiting for the right time, answered Itachi. Oh, did I? I think my memory is getting weak along with my body as well. Anyways, I wanted to ask you, Conan, is everything ready for the ritual? Asked Nagato. He finally reached the pod and lied down. The pod closed with a metallic click. If it is, then I would like to get it over with, right now rather than later, as I am not feeling well and don't want to take any chances, stated Pratapath as it rose from its resting pod from behind them. Everything is ready. I have gathered the blood required for the ritual from Zetsu's room. You were right about him, he is playing something else behind everyone's back, said Conan. I knew something was off about that thing, the way he always have any information needed and never discusses about his ideas regarding all the other members. He is doing all this for his own benefit, he is neither on our side nor on Akatsuki's, wondered Itachi. That is true, but we've got more pressing matters at hand, interjected Conan. Like? Asked Itachi. Like what Madara intends to do with Naruto-kun. I am sure that he knows about the situation as I am very sure that Zetsu already told him, said Nagato. That is troubling, as Madara knows that we are training Naruto-kun, he is allowing us to do so for some reason of his own. Maybe he thinks that we won't be able to save him, stated Itachi while trying to understand what was going inside the head of the one-eyed Uchiha legend. No, he knows that my Rinnegan can use Rinne Rebirth, which means I can bring anyone back from the dead. He must know something about Rinnegan that we don't, after all, he did said that these were his eyes, theorized Nagato while looking at the window pane, watching the reflection of the legendary eyes he wielded. What do we do now? He is already a step ahead of us. We must do something to get a hold of the situation, asked Conan who was just observing the two shinobis on both her sides. What do you suggest, Nagato? We can't just refuse to acknowledge that we are not trying to save Naruto, asked Itachi after failing to reach a satisfying course of action. Pratapath just walked towards the balcony of the tower and sat down on the ledge. Conan moved to stand inside the balcony while Itachi decided to take a seat on the couch in the office. Nagato observed the rain falling on the whole village of Amigakure. He still remembered the day he taught Naruto how to perform the jutsu. Flashback == Naruto, listen here, tell me why Amigakure is called the land of rain. Asked Nagato while both of them sat on the ledge of the balcony of Pain's office. Because it is always raining here. Answered Naruto in a meek tone. The boy was changing with terrifying speed. He was taking Conan's teachings very seriously. Hell, even after having all three of them always act serious around him, he was still better at making poker face than any of them. The betrayal of Konoha had hit him hard, harder than they first thought it had. If Nagato was in any better condition, he would have leveled the whole village, just for the sake of the little Uzumaki. That's right, but why is that? Asked Nagato again. When Naruto shook his head, Nagato raised his hand and flicked his wrist in the air. The rain suddenly came to a halt out of nowhere and the clouds parted to show bright blue sky with soft-looking snowy clouds. Naruto was surprised by the occurrence and turned his head towards Nagato for answers, for his unasked questions. Nagato just smiled and again pointed down at people in Ames streets. Everyone had stopped his or her chores to marvel at the strange occurrence, as a clear sky was a rare thing for the people of Aim. Naruto, they are surprised because to them their god, who is pain, is not maintaining the reign of Aim. It is true that it is something created by me. The rain I make contains very tiny amount of chakra, which acts as a surveillance system. I always know who leaves and who enters the Aim at all times, explained Nagato. So is it necessary to learn this jutsu as well? Asked Naruto while staying calm. One could see how much he had changed during this short amount of time in Aim by the fact that he was not bouncing at the prospect of learning a new jutsu. Yes, now here are the hand seals. Flax H back ends present. Alright, we are going through the ritual this evening, I don't want to delay it any longer. Itachi, make sure that we get that help during the ritual, ordered Pratapath while motioning for them to leave him alone. Both Itachi and Konan shared a look and left to carry out their assigned duties. Soon, my friend, soon I will be joining you in the afterlife. The only regret I'll have would be leaving Konan alone, but I trust Itachi and Naruto to look after our friend, thought the Pratapath while watching the rain wash over the village of Aim. A smile graced his lips as he felt what his student was up to. Naruto's room Naruto was sitting at the windowsill, his hands moving left to right in front of his face. He was trying to change the direction of rain by fusing his chakra in the tiny droplets of the rain. It was a training method Nagato had suggested to increase his control over the particular jutsu as well as sweeten element. His mind was blank without any thoughts regarding the future. He had come to accept that there was nothing you could do to change the future situations you will find yourself in. Though he still believed that you could change the condition in which you will come out of those situations. His room's door opened and Itachi walked in. He saw what Naruto was doing but decided to ignore it. Naruto, the ritual room is ready. Nagato insists that you change your body this evening, said Itachi while taking a seat at Naruto's side. Naruto turned his head to look at him. What's on your mind? Asked Naruto, sensing Itachi's uncomforting mood. Is it that hard to tell? Asked Itachi while leaning back on the wall, his eyes firmly on the evening sky of Aim. Naruto glanced at him for a while, then leaned forward and placed a hand on Itachi's shoulder, gaining Itachi's attention. It's the only way, Ni-san. If there was any other way, Nagato and Konan would have tried it, I am sure, said Naruto while smiling at his brother figure. Itachi couldn't help but stare at the boy in front of him, the same one he considered his brother. Maybe Naruto was just a replacement of Sasuke in the starting, but now, he was Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Itachi's younger brother. Are you alright with it? Itachi finally asked, observing Naruto carefully for any signs of hesitation. None, was the resulting thought. I am. If I refuse now, I am going to die soon anyways. This way I have a small chance to cheat death, answered Naruto while shifting to get down from the window. He had a ritual to take part in. Itachi followed his movements with his Sharingan for a while, finally sighing, he motioned Naruto towards the bed. Naruto compiled despite being confused. Naruto-kun, we are going to need as much help as we can get, especially some inner help, if you know what I mean, said Itachi while he moved to sit in a chair beside Naruto. When Naruto nodded, Itachi continued. Good, now we're going to negotiate with the Kyuubi, lie down. Naruto did as told and Itachi placed his hand on Naruto's forehead while making eye contact with him. His Sharingan started to spin before suddenly morphing into its Mangekyu state. Naruto's inner world, Itachi appeared in front of the Kyuubi's cage. He examined the seal placed on the cage and couldn't help but marvel at the handiwork of the late Yondaime Hokage. Itachi always respected the Yondaime for his sacrifice and his feats, accomplishments. Suddenly a set of pure blood red eyes opened behind the gates. Itachi refused to get intimidated as he felt like he was being judged for his crimes, before a growl came from the cave. "Tem, you are one of those bastards. You are from that clan of gifted cursed eyes," growled Kyuubi, sneering its fangs. "Kyuubi, it a pleasure to meet you too," answered Itachi while keenly observing the shadow-taking form behind the cage. "Shut up Uchiha, or I will turn you into a blood stain under my paw," thundered the Kyuubi while trying to squash Itachi from inside the cage. Itachi did even looked phased. He took a step forward. "So the great Kyuubi has been reduced to hollow threats, I see. Such disappointment," stated Itachi. "Think br4 opening your mouth ninjin. Sharingan or not, I can still crush you. Feel lucky that right now my attention is divided," bellowed Kyuubi while narrowing its eyes at Itachi. "I am guessing it is that foul chakra in Naruto's chakra system which is keeping you so busy?" asked Itachi. Kyuubi gave no indication of answering the question and just settled on glaring daggers at the Uchiha in front of it. Itachi just shook his head and again looked at the strongest Biju of the world. "If you are upset with my Sharingan being active, then I am sorry. For being here, it is necessary that my Sharingan remains activated," he said again. The only reaction he received was a flick of Kyuubi's right ear. "Okay. You don't like me," Itachi started and Kyuubi snorted at the comment. "And I am not a fan of your presence myself, but we have a situation here," he completed. "You mean the chakra of that snake? It's no match for my Yuki. It's just taking a little longer than expected to get rid of it. After all, I had to heal the brat as well," spoke the Kyuubi while lying down at the floor, placing its head on its front paws. "Yes, but it's taking its toll on Naruto's health. His chakra is being destroyed gradually due to the foreign chakra. Your chakra is doing no good as well," said Itachi while taking a step forward again, electing a warning growl from the beast. "You think I don't know that? I reside this seal, which means I know everything about the brat's body. Whatever you say, there is nothing I can do right now to save the Gaki," answered Kyuubi again, getting impatient with Itachi's reasoning methods. "We are going to save him, along with you," stated Itachi, at which the Kyuubi bared its fangs. "What makes you think I need you bastards to save me? I will just disperse for a while and then reform again. There is nothing for me to lose here," said Kyuubi, standing up and turning around to go deeper in the cage. As far as it was concerned, this conversation was over. "It seems for 1,000-years-old being, you are a little lacking in knowledge of Fuinjutsu," said Itachi on seeing the Kyuubi retreat in deeper part of the seal. The Kyuubi stopped suddenly and turned its head to look at Itachi. Itachi decided to answer the unasked question. The Yondaime Hokage, Naruto's father, didn't just used any regular seal on you that night. He used Shiki Fujin, and from what I know, the sealing was powered by the Shinigami itself. When Kyuubi gave no response, Itachi again reached towards the cage and placed his hand on one of the bars. "What makes you think you won't die with him? Your souls are intertwined with each other. Maybe your chakra will combine again to take a form, but it won't be your form, that I am sure about," he said and nearly smirked when the Kyuubi again turned to face him. "And what do you want from me then?" asked Kyuubi, quite angry with the situation. "We're going to transfer Naruto's soul, along with yours, in a new body. All I want you to do is try helping us from the inside a little," explained Itachi. "I heard what you had to say, now get out of here," said the Kyuubi and closed its eyes without giving any answer to Itachi. Real world ==. "All right Naruto, follow me. We're going to Pain's office," ordered Itachi before leaving the room, followed by Naruto. The preparations were already made for the ritual and Preta Path was standing at the gate of his private room in Pain's office. Conan was inside doing some last-minute setting of the room. Itachi and Naruto entered the office and made a beeline to the Preta Path. Are you ready, Naruto? Asked Preta Path while placing a hand on the young Uzumaki's shoulder. Naruto just nodded, instead of answering, and entered the room. Itachi moved to follow him in, but the Preta Path stopped him. On Itachi's questioning glance, he asked, "Did you complete the task?" "Yes, though I didn't get any satisfying answer, but I am guessing it was a yes," answered Itachi. Preta Path nodded and entered the room along with Itachi in tow. Unknown location. Zetsu appeared in the dark room. Toby was sitting at a throne made up of wood. The Uchiha glanced at the new presence with disinterest evident in his eyes. Zetsu walked at a leisure pace towards him while the Sharingan followed him quietly. "What is it now? You know I don't like it when you just appear here for momentary chit-chat," said the Uchiha with clear irritation in his voice. "We have some news regarding Uzumaki," said the white Zetsu. Toby gave no indication of hearing his informant and continued to stare forward in darkness. "They are starting the ritual. I provided Konan with the blood you said. They think it is the blood of Uzumaki descendants," said Black Zetsu. "Let them think that they have fooled me. Once the ritual is over, it would be me who will emerge victorious," said Toby while getting up from the throne and moving towards a nearby stand. "So, what now? What do we do?" asked White Zetsu. "We wait, for now. Let them do what they can. After they are done with the ritual, we'll make our move, but just to be sure, go to Nagato's chamber. If he somehow tries to complete the ritual, kill him," answered Toby, while placing his orange mask on his face. His lone Sharingan eye spinning madly before morphing into Mangekyo form. Zetsu gave a nod and started to sink back in the ground. "It shall be done," said Black Zetsu before he disappeared in the floor. "Just a couple of minutes and I'll have the most powerful weapon at my disposal. Nagato, what a fool you are. You and Itachi brought me the one thing which will help me the most," thought Toby, while donning the Akatsuki cloak before disappearing in the darkness. Ritual room. Naruto was lying on his back with his chest bare. The seal holding the Kyuubi was visible on his abdomen. Just above his head was another futon with the body of Yahiko lying on it, their heads almost touching. All around the room were chakra-made seals with engravings that Naruto couldn't hope to decipher. On the left of Naruto were many devices beeping, showing his vitals, whereas the same apparatus on Yahiko's right showed no signs of life in the body of Akatsuki's founder. Preta Path walked in along with Itachi and stood at his bedside. Konan was standing in corner of the room, ready to supply her chakra in the multiple seals engraved around the room. Itachi stood at one side and looked at Naruto without any emotion on his face. Naruto met his eyes and held the stare for a while, then gave smallest of a nod. Itachi just broke the eye contact and decided to stare at Preta Path's back. He was just standing there when one of his precious people was going to risk his life. For the first time, Itachi hated his situation. "Let's get it over with, Nagato," said Naruto while lying his head back on the futon. Itachi nearly flinched at the words as he was trying to avoid the ritual as much as possible. Preta Path noticed Itachi's discomfort but decided not to comment on it. Turning towards Konan, he said, "Start the procedure, Konan. The room must have all the seals activated for this to work." Konan gave a nod and started to pump her chakra in the seals on the walls of the room. The effect was instantaneous as the seals started to glow light blue with all the chakra flowing through them, and the room fell in a bright blue glow. Preta Path moved forward and made a ram seal with his left hand in front of his chin, concentrating. His right hand traveled to Naruto's hand and touched his temples. His eyebrows scrunched in concentration as he started the procedure. The room was filled with chakra because if Preta Path somehow lost control of the jutsu during the transfer, Naruto's soul won't be able to depart to afterlife immediately. The high chakra density of the room won't allow Naruto's astral body to move around freely. Cruel it may sound, but it will give them enough time to initiate the procedure again. Beads of sweat started to form on Naruto's forehead as he started feeling a burning sensation on his abdomen, courtesy of Kyuubi's attempts of breaking the seal. "Gah!" screamed Naruto suddenly and started to thrash around on the futon. His throat felt dry and his body was burning. Itachi, hold him down, now, said Konan as she knew that Preta Path won't be able to do anything if Naruto continued thrashing like that. Itachi moved with a sense of urgency, appearing above Naruto. He clamped down his hands on Naruto's body. Holding down his upper body with right hand on his chest and battling with his kicking legs using his left hand. Preta Path struggled to maintain the jutsu as he started to pull out Naruto's struggling soul out of his head inch by inch. Naruto's movements started to get more frantic as all his memories of 13 years' life started to come in front of his eyes. Memories he didn't knew he had, memories he had long forgotten, memories he had tried to suppress. All the memories of the night of his birth, the fateful night of Kyuubi's massacre. The solitude of the legendary Yondaime Hokage. His last words to him. Stay strong, my son, I'll always be watching you from above. I am sorry, but you won't understand anything I say right now, would you? Just know this, I am proud of you. Those words confused Naruto largely. He would have given it some more thought if it wasn't for the next memory that came crashing in his head. Naruto Sochi, when you grow up, become a great man, just like your two-san, and make us both proud. Remember to always eat your vegetables, don't sleep in soaked clothes. Join the academy and study hard, stay away from bullies and fangirls. Make sure you taste Ichiraku once a week, and there is so much I have to tell you, but time's not on our side. Just know this, your Ka-san loves you from her very being and will always continue to love you, even after death. Unknowingly a tear escaped Naruto's eyes as he muttered, Ka-san. Itachi's eyes went wide on hearing the word. If what he thought was true and Naruto was really reliving his life from the very first hour of his life, then so help them God. Naruto will have to endure all that again. After this, he would change for sure, not for the better that is. Unknown to any of them, Zetsu was watching the whole thing from a dark corner of the room. This is bad, Nagato is really giving his all. If he keeps up that jutsu, he will surely succeed, no. It will ruin everything. I must inform Obito about this now, thought the black Zetsu, before sinking in the nearby wall hurriedly. Appearing in front of Tobi, Zetsu quickly gave his report. Nagato is succeeding in his ritual, there is no doubt he will complete the transfer, one way or another. We must take action now if we want the body for ourselves, stated the black Zetsu while the white half remained calm mysteriously. Tobi suddenly stood up and glared at the white half of his subordinate. I told you, if he was somehow able to perform the jutsu then you will kill the real body of pain, he said heatedly, all the while concentrating hard to maintain his cool or risk losing his minion to his temper. Alright, I will go and kill Nagato's real body, but if Uzumaki's body was allowed to remain dead for more than necessary time then even I won't be able to save it, said the white Zetsu with a rare display of seriousness. Just go. I'll take care of Itachi and Konan while you are at it. Meet me back here within 5 minutes, I'll bring the body myself, ordered Tobi. Zetsu said nothing and sank back in the shadows, leaving for Nagato's chambers to complete his task. Tobi remained there, still glaring at the darkness of his surroundings. Whatever you do, Itachi. I will have that Uzumaki no matter what. Even if I have to kill all 3 of you. But first, I must do something, said Tobi to himself before disappearing in a swirl of air. Nagato's quarters. Zetsu appeared just behind the apparatus of Nagato's machinery. The said man was connected to the machine with many tubes coming from his body to the machine, whilst multiple antennas were protruding from his back. Such power in a husk-like body, karma has sure been bad to you, nay. Nagato? Asked White Zetsu in a sing-song voice. When Nagato gave no reply it became clear that he was noticing them right now, giving Zetsu the perfect opportunity to kill the Rinnegan Wilder. I guess this is goodbye to the god of aim, said Zetsu before reaching for a tub near Nagato's heart. Just as he was about to touch the tube, a large hand fell on his shoulder and forcefully threw him backwards in a wall. Zetsu went flying in the wall and collided with it with so much force that any normal Chunin would have died right there. Unfortunately, Zetsu was not a regular Chunin, or a human for that matter. Debris fell on the non-human Akatsuki as he lied there in the dust cloud. Opening his eyes and blinking a little to get rid of the dust in them, Zetsu slowly stood up and turned to face his attacker. Finally focusing on the figure in front of him, White Zetsu couldn't help but grin maniacally. In front of him stood another Akatsuki member with a hand stretched out at Zetsu. "Fancy seeing you here, but I would have to ask you to let me kill you, Nagato," said White Zetsu grinning. His answer came in form of a missile. Boom. And here I thought killing a dying Nagato would be an easy task. Tisk, thought Zetsu before jumping at the path in front of him. Pain's Tower. Akatsuki Meeting Chambers. "What is this, Madara-sama? Why have you summoned everyone personally?" asked Deidara while playing with a clay spider sitting on his forearm. "Everyone, even after I defeated Deidara and Hidan, some of you still had some doubts regarding Pain's disappearance. Am I wrong?" asked Toby while keeping a keen eye on Kakuzu and Sasori. That was to be expected. After all, just after Leader Sama's disappearance you emerged out of nowhere, claiming to be the real leader of this organization, Kisame pointed out. "Not to mention, your claim of being the most legendary Uchiha of Elemental Nation's history, HN, added Deidara after a second. "Yeah, and you had the balls to disrespect Jashin-sama, bitch," exclaimed an angry Hidan. "Hidan, stop swearing so casually in organization's meetings or you'll end up joining my former partners," warned Kakuzu without even sparing a glance at the said Jashinist. "What? Look into my eyes and say that again, you little mother F," screamed Hidan before Toby interrupted him. "Enough. Think before you say useless things like that in my presence, all of you," thundered Toby. This seemed to shut them up for good this time. Turning to face Sasori, who still had anything to say, Toby answered the unasked question of the Suna puppeteer. "Pain won't be able to leader Akatsuki anymore because Konan and Itachi had killed him for his eyes, the Rinnegan. The fuck they had. There is no way that blue-haired bitch would betray Leader Sama." Again shouted. "You guys know who, right? I don't know about that woman, but I am damn sure Itachi won't do anything like that. He is too calm-headed to take such a drastic action," Kisame added his 2 cents. "I have worked with the Uchiha before. He may be a little too secretive, but that's expected of him as an Uchiha. From what I remember, he isn't the greedy type. That's why our partnership didn't work," said Kakuzu in a monotone. "HN, that Uchiha may have done it. After all, he killed his whole clan in one night just to test his Mangekyo Sharingan, nay Sasori-senpai?" asked Deidara while leaning his head to the side to look at his partner. "Do you have any evidence?" came the gruffly voice from the hunched figure of Sasori. Toba's visible eye narrowed at the puppeteer, but he replied nonetheless. "If you, or any of you all, want evidence, then go to Pain's office now. You'll find a hidden door on the left-right wall. Inside that secret room lies the body of your former leader. Both of those traitors are preparing to remove the Rinnegan from the corpse as we speak." All the Akatsuki members stood there shocked, to think those two would kill Pain and use his own office to hide the body. "Very well, let us see." Sasori was the first to speak as he started to move towards the stairs to go from 12th floor to 15th, where Pain's office was located. Kisame looked at all the other members of the organization quizzically, but when Kakuzu moved to follow Sasori, it was decided. One by one all 5 of the Akatsuki started to move to reach Pain's office. Only Toby remained standing there. "I must get going as well. The Uzumaki's body must not be present when these pawns of mine reach there," thought the Uchiha before he disappeared in a swirl. With Zetsu. Zetsu stood there panting and sweating heavily. A struggling Asura path in front of him, completely rendered immobile by various roots coming out of the floor with multiple white Zetsu spores sticking on them, sucking his chakra dry. "No doubt Toby considers you to be dangerous to our plans. You certainly are one tough guy to kill. To think it would take this much work in subduing only one of your paths. I don't think I would have survived this encounter if it was your diva path, but it seems he is busy somewhere else," said White Zetsu, still panting considerably. The Asura path continued to struggle with the roots as Zetsu moved forward towards a sweating Nagato's body. No matter what, Nagato couldn't risk using any of the Tendu's techniques right now, when Preta Path was doing such an important procedure. With a flick of his wrist, a spiky vine appeared in Zetsu's hand, as he channeled his chakra in the said vine to strengthen it like a kunai. Not wasting any time in removing two tubes from the body of his victim, he moved swiftly and with a swing of speed of lightning, he completed his task given to him by Toby. Blood splattered around the room as Nagato's jugular bled profusely. Covered in the Uzumaki's blood, the grin on Zetsu's face never faltered as he detached the body from the machinery. Toby would need these eyes soon enough. The body must be preserved until then, or at least the eyes should. A physically challenged Uzumaki's body was of least use for his plans after all. Zetsu grinned maniacally again as the struggling of Asura path stopped and the body went limp in the confines of the roots. It was fun to battle the Rinnegan for once, even if it was just a fragment of its power, thought the black half of Zetsu before he started to sink back in the floor with Nagato's body draped on his shoulder. Too much fun. Within the ritual room, everything was going as planned. Naruto had stopped thrashing after a long display of irritation and screaming. Itachi was still holding down the Uzumaki to make sure that he stayed safe. One could never tell with jutsus like this one after all. Konan was standing in the corner with a soldier pill in her mouth. Her chakra was already running low. Preta Path completing the procedure in a bit haste, but reason remained unknown to both of them. What is it, Nagato? Asked Konan from the corner with a bit of concern in her voice. She received no reply from the path in front of her but dismissed it as the pressure of the critical procedure. Preta Path slowly removed his hand from Naruto's forehead and turned his palm upwards. A bluish ball of misty energy appeared on the palm of his hand. Itachi and Konan's eyes went wide on the display of such a feat. As that? Asked an astonished Itachi while marveling at little ball of energy. Preta Path only gave a strained nod instead of a vocal reply, and started to move towards the body of Yahiko on the opposite side. On his way there, Preta Path almost doubled over in pain but managed to catch himself. Itachi moved forward, alarmed by the sudden reaction, but before he could reach the path, Preta held his hand out to stop him. Itachi reluctantly stepped back but kept his eyes focused on Preta Path just in case there was anything about to happen. Preta moved forward and was about to place the orb of energy on Yahiko's forehead but suddenly fell forward. Both Itachi and Konan became alarmed at this as Preta's hand fell on Yahiko's forehead and he fell with a thud. Konan was about to rush forward but refrained from doing so as Itachi nodded at her and moved to aid her longtime friend. Itachi quickly activated his Sharingan and morphed it to its Mangekyo Sharingan. He was unable to detect any traces of chakra in the path's form. The strings of chakra attached to the chakra metal receivers of the body were dispersing into tiny particles. As long as Itachi was concerned, that wasn't supposed to happen if Nagato abandoned one of his paths. He had had the pleasure of observing that phenomenon on many occasions, and if his memory served him right, then the chakra always stopped from transmitters on Nagato's back first. The last particle of chakra was supposed to travel to the path, not disperse like this. What happened, Itachi? Konan asked worriedly while observing from the side. I don't know, it's like the path is completely drained of chakra, and the chakra is dispersing in the air, answered Itachi, unsure of what was that supposed to mean. Konan's eyes grew wide as she realized that her childhood friend was no longer among the living. She fell to her knees, hands moving to cover her mouth. Tears threatened to fall from the corners of her eyes. Itachi saw all this and realized what had caused it. He's gone, isn't he? He asked, not expecting a reply anyways. Konan just couldn't hold her tears any longer as she started to sob. Now she was the last of the AIM trio. First Yahiko, her lover, and now her last friend, Nagato. She was left alone in the world of cruelty to fend off for herself. Itachi was tempted to help Konan in any way possible, but before that, he turned his head to look at his little brother lying lifeless on the futon. His eyes grew red with guilt and emotional trauma. Fists clenched and he struggled to maintain his composure. Before his train of thought could travel anymore, it was stopped by the appearance of a swirl in the far corner of the room. The figure of Tobi appeared out of the swirl as Itachi glared at the other Uchiha with pure contempt. Toba's lone Sharingan eye scanned the room, lingering on all three of the Akatsuki-robed figures before settling on the prone body of one Uzumaki Naruto. A growl came out of his throat as he snarled behind his mask, his eye morphed to its Mangekyo state for a second as it started to hypnotically spin. "What have you done? What is the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki doing here?" asked Tobi with barely contained anger evident in his voice. None of them answered the questions asked, but Tobi wasn't expecting them to. After all, he was only asking these questions to justify his upcoming actions. "From the looks of it, it's safe to say that your actions have cost us the Kyuubi," stated Tobi, personifying Madara. "This will not go unpunished. Get that inside your sorry heads. Akatsuki's plans will be held up due to this if right measures weren't taken right now," he continued. "What do you mean?" Itachi finally asked. Tobi glared at Itachi with pure hatred, which seemed not to faze the Uchiha prodigy. "I'll be taking the body of the Jinchuriki with me. There must be a way to still save the Kyuubi and will not stop until I find it," said Tobi as he used his teleportation jutsu on Naruto's still body. On seeing Naruto's body start getting sucked in a swirl, Itachi panicked. "No, you can't do that. What about?" He couldn't complete his statement as Tobi broke in. "You are hardly in any position to question my actions, still I won't say anything else as your punishers are on their way here." Before Itachi could say anything, Tobi disappeared in a swirl as well, a smirk concealed behind his mask. With the other Akatsukis, they had finally reached the door of the secret room and as expected, it was locked. Kisame quickly moved forward, taking the lead and kicked open the door. The door went crashing on the floor, revealing two beds with Pain lying on one of them. Konan was sitting on the floor in a corner while Itachi was supporting a unknown man's lifeless body in Akatsuki robes. Kakuzu came pushing Kisame aside, much to the displeasure of Kisame, while others followed his example and entered the room. "So what Madara said was true, you really have killed Leader Sama, HN. Deidara decided to voice everyone's thoughts. "You dickless, shitheads, bastards, I must sacrifice you to Jashin Sama," shouted Hidan, already taking out his red scythe. "Itachi, what have you done? I thought you weren't the power-hungry type," asked Kisame. Itachi was about to retaliate but Konan stopped him. "Don't, Itachi, they won't believe us," she said while standing up. "The hell we won't," Hidan responded loudly. "If you two have nothing to say then I guess this pretty much sums it up," stated Sasori in a low tone. When none of the accused said anything, Kakuzu took the command. "Very well then, for murdering the leader of Akatsuki, you will be dealt with accordance," he said calmly, removing his threads from their hidden spots on his body. All the shinobi present readied themselves for the long stretched out battle that was about to come. Toba's hideout. Tobi appeared in a swirl in front of a waiting Zetsu, who sported clear marks of a battle. "It seems that you succeeded in taking care of that fool. Good," said Tobi while moving towards his throne in the center of the hideout. Zetsu's keen eyes followed his every move with uttermost excitement. Once the Uchiha was seated on his throne, he motioned for Zetsu to say what he wanted. "I would like to remind you that the body must be tended to as soon as possible, so if you don't mind," said the white Zetsu while motioning towards an operating table in the darker corner of the hideout. Tobi only nodded and in a swirl, Naruto's body came out of his Kamui dimension on the table. "Appreciate that," said Zetsu as he moved to operate on the former Jinchuriki. Bodies of Uzumakis were always amazing, but the body of an Uzumaki Jinchuriki, "I can't stop myself from shaking from excitement," exclaimed Zetsu before starting his handiwork. "Just make sure you give him everything that old man gave me. I want him to become as strong as Madara if not stronger," said Tobi before closing his eyes. "It couldn't be any better, everything is going exactly as planned." The gears of time are moving again, couldn't be any better, thought Toby. Payne's office. Deidara. You bonehead, don't use bombs in here, idiot, shouted Kisame as he used Shimehata to deflect kunais thrown at him by Itachi, who was making Hidan fight a clone, and the Jushinist hadn't even noticed it. Die bitch, shouted Hidan as he swung his scythe in crazed daze at the Itachi clone. The clone jumped back and released a small fireball at the Jushinist. Kaden. Gokakyu no Jutsu, fire release. Great fireball technique, 1. Ah, that hurts you bastard, shouted a burnt Hidan. That tends to happen when you charge head straight in a Kaden jutsu, said Kakuzu from beside him, dodging a hail of paper shurikens, courtesy of Konan. Konan was fighting Kakuzu as he was the most experienced of the lot, while Itachi and his clone were handling Kisame, Deidara, Sasori and Hidan. You won't escape this tower alive, you know that right? Asked Sasori while maintaining his distance from the Itachi clone fighting Hidan. You should know that I have my reasons to do what I am doing, replied the clone while dodging yet another swing of the crazed priest. Very well, said Sasori before the metallic tail on his back moved at lightning speed to strike down the clone. The clone parried the strike with a kunai held firmly in hand while using another hand to make one-handed hand seals. Sweden. Suigaden water release. Water fang bullet 2. The Itachi clone shot a bullet of churning water at blinding speed which collided with the charging priest, sending him flying back in Kisame. Watch where you step, idiot, exclaimed Kisame while somehow balancing himself. Shut the hell up, fish face, was Hidan's smartass reply. Kisame would have given him a piece of his mind if a fireball wasn't headed towards him. Jumping to side to dodge the fireball, Kisame was able to jump at Itachi with a downward slash to the chest. Sensing the incoming sword, Itachi quickly paddled backwards, narrowly missing the sharp scales of Shimehata. Che, Itachi always wanted to fight you for real, but this situation is not something I expected, said Kisame while doing a 360 horizontal swing to cover his guard. Touché, but stay aside, Shushi, I have some business to settle with this red-eyed freak, HN, said Deidara while throwing a pack of clay spiders towards Itachi. On seeing the incoming explosives, Itachi was tempted to kawarimi, but one glance behind him at a struggling Konan forced him to think again. Kaden. Gokakyu no Jutsu, fire release. Great fireball technique. Itachi shot a fireball at the spiders, efficiently getting rid of them, gaining a snarl from Deidara. Kisame chuckled and jumped in front of Deidara. Step aside, Blondie, he's not someone you can handle, said a grinning Kisame. Going through his own hand seals, Kisame strapped Shimehata on his back and shouted. Sweden. Bakusui Shoha, water release. Exploding water shockwave, 3. Kisami's chakra flared as he spat a wave of shockwave at Itachi. Konan was struggling to hold her ground as Kakuzu continued to strike at her with his tendrils. She was dodging to a side when she saw Deidara throw a pack of his clay spiders at her and Itachi. She got a little worried, but Itachi managed to burn them before they could reach any of them. She was forced to jump again as Kakuzu appeared in front of her with fist at ready to pound her into the floor. Dodging the fist, she quickly formed a chain sickle using her papers, hardening it to steel's tensile using her chakra. She swung her new weapon and wrapped it around Kakuzu's neck, effectively stopping his assault on her. Kakuzu clenched his hand on the chain sickle wrapped around his neck, but before he could get his neck out of the deadly weapon, Konan pulled it with as much force as she could muster. Kakuzu lost his balance and was slammed down on the ground face first. If only they had more ground to fight on, he would have called out his masked beasts, but here they were, 7S ranked criminals fighting to kill in a small room of 60 by 60. Growling at his own mistake of underestimating another Akatsuki, Kakuzu pulled at the chain with all his might. Though it made him bleed a bit from around his neck, he was able to loosen it up enough for him to get his neck out of its coils. Konan immediately transformed the chain sickle into a one-handed sword and readied herself for Kakuzu's next set of attacks. Che, sneaky bastard, said Deidara as Itachi again evaded his clay bombs with Kawarimi. Kisame was about to attack again when Itachi raised a hand, motioning him to halt in his steps. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Technique, said Itachi while holding a ram seal. Two more Itachi popped in existence beside him, both had their Mangekyu activated. Before Kisame could react, one of them jumped towards him, already going through a set of hand seals. Kaden. Gokakyu no Jutsu, Fire Release. Great Fireball Technique, exclaimed the clone before a fireball came out of his mouth, aimed at his Akatsuki partner. Kisame was too close to dodge and his sword was on his back, which will take a lot time to bring out. Well shit, cursed Kisame while crossing his hands in front of him just as the fireball engulfed him. Ha! You really made a roasted fish out of him, said a surprised Deidara just before he saw another fireball headed towards him. Oh no, not the face, shouted Deidara as he tried to dodge to a side, receiving little burns on his ear. The other Itachi clone quickly made his towards an unsuspecting Sasori and shot forward with a kunai in hand, barely avoiding the metallic tail strike to his side. Sneaking from behind won't work on me, Itachi, said Sasori from behind his back face mask. Itachi gave no reply and suddenly the face mask fell from Sasori's face, revealing the face of the puppet. As expected, you are hiding inside that puppet of yours. I always thought there was something wrong with that hunched body of yours, now I know, said the clone. Aren't a talkative one, clone? Came the voice from within the puppet. We shadow clones have our own personalities, you can't blame me if I am not like the real one over there, replied the clone while motioning towards the real Itachi who was fighting Deidara. Thanks for letting me know which one of you is the real one, said Sasori just as the clone's eyes grew wide from surprise. Apparently, Sasori had his tail move slowly over the head of the clone while he was talking to him as a distraction. The clone had no time to dodge as the tail struck him, successfully dispelling him at the same spot. Once dispelling the clone, Sasori moved to save Kisami's ass because according to his judgment, Hidan was too much of an idiot to be saved. Kisame was busy fending off the kunai strikes delivered by Itachi's clone. He was literally smoking from his skin after getting toasted by that last fireball. Luckily Shimehata was doing its job perfectly by defending him as well as healing him with its chakra at the same time. Just as he thought he won't be able to handle Itachi any longer, a tail came in his field of vision at lightning speed and attacked the Itachi clone. The clone, sensing the danger, jumped back while parrying the strike of the tail with a kunai held firmly in his hand. The tail deflected the kunai to a side and continued on its path. The clone tried to dodge the strike aimed at his heart, but the tail caught him in his side, dispelling the clone. Thanks, nearly had my ass smoked there, thanked Kisame while using Shimehata to support himself. We have things to do, some traitors to deal with, said Sasori before moving towards the real Itachi. You go get Hidan out of that situation over there, I'll handle the real one, said Sasori before moving to join Deidara. Kisame looked over Kakuzu and saw that he saw faring nicely against the woman. Turning his head towards Hidan's last known location, he nearly fell on the floor. Hidan was hanging from the wall in a large cross with kunai sticking from his hands and feet while several shurikens were sticking out of his abdomen. He was currently busy spewing curses at the clone in front of him. His course of action decided, Kisame shot towards Hidan's opponent. Soon the last clone of the Uchiha prodigy was defeated, resulting in Itachi being overpowered by the 4 Akatsuki members. Take this, shouted Hidan as he punched an exhausted Itachi in the face, sending him flying in the wall behind him. Itachi crumbled down on the floor with his back to the wall. Serves you right, Tem, HN, said Deidara as he formed a larger than average spider from his clay. I don't know why you did it, but you'll have to pay for what you have done to Leader Sama, said Kisame while swinging his sword to get the feeling back in his sore shoulders. I never expected such foolish actions from you, Itachi. These 3 here, I may not have been surprised if it was these 3 on the floor, but you. Not you, Itachi, said Sasori, already suspecting that something was off. No sooner than that Conan came flying from behind them and crashed in Itachi's chest, both of them fell in a crumbled heap. Kakuzu came forward from behind Sasori and stepped forward. Kisame, Hidan, ready your swords, it's the time of judgment, said Kakuzu while both the swordsmen drew their swords. Kisame was hesitating a little but he soon steeled his resolve. Both of them came forward and raised their swords above their heads, ready to deliver the final strike. Just as the swords came down, suddenly everyone felt the most powerful killing intent they had ever felt in their lives. Conan opened her eyes and saw two swords paused in mid-swing whereas Itachi only coughed a little. The standing Akatsuki members were rooted to their feet. Just as they were about to turn, a commanding voice rang throughout the room. Enough. Kisame, Hidan, ready your swords, it's the time for their judgment, said Kakuzu while both the swordsmen drew their swords. Kisame was hesitating a little but he soon steeled his resolve. Both of them came forward and raised their swords above their heads, ready to deliver the final strike. Just as the swords came down, suddenly everyone felt the most powerful killing intent they had ever felt in their lives. Conan opened her eyes and saw two swords paused in mid-swing whereas Itachi only coughed a little. The standing Akatsuki members were rooted to their feet. Just as they were about to turn, a commanding voice rang throughout the room. Enough. Continued. Konohagakure no Sato. Council Chambers. Why have you summoned us all here, Tsunade? Asked Kaharu while she eyed the slug princess with a little irritation clearly shining in her eyes. Beside her sat her husband and teammate Hamura. His eyes were fixed firmly on the clenched fists of one Senju Tsunade while said woman struggled to keep her somewhat uncontrollable emotions in check. Speaking of elders, we can't just ignore the old war veteran, Shimura Danzo, now can we? Danzo was not even glancing at any council member as well as the Hokage. His calculative gaze was focused solely on the Toad Sennin standing behind the Hokage. Danzo may have been able to train emotionless shinobi of high caliber but he was still capable of catching the tiny bits of emotional leaks a shinobi's body language provided. The same thing was going on with Jiraiya, if Danzo's observation was correct. He won't waste his time dwelling on it much as it was clearly the reason why Tsunade had called this sudden council meeting. Shut up advisor, growled Tsunade in a barely controlled anger, much to the surprise of the whole council. Kaharu's eyes grew wide at the uncharacteristic reply from Tsunade. She sputtered and tried to come up with a quick shot back but failed miserably. Ignoring the advisor, Tsunade turned in her chair to look at all the council members. She glared at the civil council but continued nevertheless. I didn't want to disclose this information in the presence of civil council but I am sure it would have reached them by the end of the day anyways. At this, she stopped and glared at her advisors, who glared back as if challenging her to prove the indirect blame. Snaring, she continued. The reason I called you all today is to announce that Konoha has lost one of our promising genins. Everyone started to look at each other and gave her a confused look. Who are you talking about? Asked Hamura while looking at her with interest-filled eyes. One of the ninjas I sent on the failed Uchiha retrieval mission, his Na. Before he could continue, Kaharu jumped in. Don't sprout nonsense, Tsunade. We saw the retrieval team's reports. Everyone had been discharged from the hospital with full recovery. Tsunade glared at the counselor but before she could say anything, another voice spoke up, preventing her from doing so. Uzumaki, murmured Danzo while his visible eye narrowed dangerously. What? Asked Kaharu turning to glance at the war hawk. Uzumaki Naruto never returned from that mission, isn't that right, Hokage? Stated, asked Danzo with a grim expression on his face. Tsunade didn't acknowledge his question but stated her own statement. Uzumaki Naruto never made it back from that mission would be more suitable, won't you say, Danzo? At this, Danzo only stared at her with what dangerously alike to judgment in his eyes, before nodding. What? That means that boy went rogue. We must deploy hunter nins after that thing. Shouted a civilian counselor while waving his hands frantically in front of his face. Shut up, civilian, Do you even have any idea what type situation this will get Konoha in? Growled Inuzuka Sume. What Tenshi-san said is right, we must celebrate this occasion with the demon's execution. Interjected a civil councilwoman. What makes you think that the boy didn't went rogue while on that mission? Asked Hyuga Hiyashi, completely ignoring the shouts of the civilian side of the council. We have proof of Naruto's passing, said Tsunade while turning towards the Anbu at the chamber gates. Send in Hatake Kakashi, she ordered. The Anbu nodded and left the chambers to fetch the Sharingan wielder. What do you mean passing Hokage-sama? Asked Hamura while Koharu continued to glare at Tsunade. Paying no heed to the blatant glare of Koharu, Tsunade decided to humor Hamura. Uzumaki Naruto was declared Kia, which means Konoha just lost its Jinchuriki because of the last Uchiha's defection. Well, it was your fault clearly. Sending someone like him after an Uchiha was a foolish action on your part, Tsunade. The result was inevitable and you can't deny it, stated Koharu, gaining nods of approval from the civil side of council. Before Tsunade could retort, Kakashi came strolling inside the chambers in a calm pace. Stopping in front of Tsunade, he gave a deep bow while sending a curt nod towards Jiraiya, who just scowled. You called? He asked as his bored-looking eye expertly scanned the surrounding people of the council. Anyone else would find nothing out of ordinary in the looks and posture of the famed Sharingan no Kakashi, but those who knew him closely noticed the lack of his orange book, the overly tiredness in his shoulders and the patch of grass and dirt on his pant knee. Clearly the Cyclops was at the cemetery before being summoned by the Hokage. Yes, Kakashi, would you be kind enough to share your findings at the Valley of End with the council? She said the last word with disdain dripping clearly. Hamura remained impassive while Koharu glared at the Godime. Kakashi nodded and started. I was ordered to track down the last battle of the retrieval team in order to provide backup and reinforcement to the mission. When I used my summon hound, Pakken, I was able to pinpoint the location of Uchiha Sasuke at the Valley of End. After that, I used my top speed to reach the valley, but just before I could reach the valley, an explosion rocked me down a tree. Its eye point was focused at the valley as I deduced. Finally, when I reached the valley, there I found the charred remains of Uzumaki Naruto's jacket while the said genin was nowhere in sight. I also found the beaten and damaged Hatai 8 of one Uchiha Sasuke. Finished Kakashi with his shoulders going sloppy. It doesn't mean that the Kyuubi is dead. For all we know, he must have left after realizing how pathetic he was when compared to Uchiha Sasuke. Said a civilian while others started to give their approvals. Tsunade scowled but stated anyways. I knew that you fools would think along that track, that's why I have the ultimate evidence to prove his death, Jiraiya. Exclaimed Tsunade while tilting her head a little to signal the Toad Sennin to come forward. Jiraiya moved forward and started to go through a series of hand seals that many of the shinobi present recognized right away. Kuchino's no jutsu, summoning just you. A puff of smoke erupted in the middle of the room as a small toad revealed himself. The toad that appeared was green and had a white goatee with a cane, a gray cloak was draped around his body. The toad glared at all the people present before glancing at Tsunade. Greetings, Tsunade-chan. Fukasaku greeted and got reply from Tsunade in the form of a nod, accompanied a small smile. Turning towards Jiraiya, the toad asked, "What do you need, Jiraiya-chan?" Jiraiya gave a small nod of respect to the toad before answering. It's about the Naruto incident, Pa, Jiraiya stated with a grim look in his eyes. Fukasaku nodded and turned to face the council. As the elder toad of the clan of toads, I am always aware of our summoners. I only wish Naru-chan had summoned one of us to help him in his battle, the outcome could have been very different, he said. One of the brave council men started. How can you say that the brat is dead, not a deserter? Fukasaku sighed and started to answer the dumb civilian. Because whenever a toad or a summoner dies, the records at Mount Mayubaku are automatically updated due to the sudden disappearance of chakra. Naru-chan's name disappeared at the very same day of his final battle. Is this summoning register of yours ever tested on a summoner? Because Jiraiya was the first summoner of your kind and he is yet to grace the heavens with his presence, asked Danzo. They may have some disputes, but Danzo respected the hermit for his accomplishments in his shinobi life. It seems your memory is no longer serving you correctly, Danzo Dono, because if mine serves me right, I think Minato-kun was a toad summoner as well, and to answer your unasked question, yes, Minato's name also disappeared after the Kyuubi's attack, answered Fukasaku. Danzo nodded and turned to look at his fellow advisors. It seems that Konoha has indeed lost its Jinchuriki in his last mission, and now due to this new development, our position as the greatest hidden village is at risk, he said while throwing slight glances towards the civilian council side. That's why I am declaring Uchiha Sasuke as AA-ranked missing nin of Konoha, said Tsunade. You can't be serious, Hokage-sama. He is the last Uchiha we've got, shouted a councilwoman while other civilians started to raise their hands in her support. He defected. I think the shinobi side of the council will agree with me when I say that Hokage-sama's decision is justified and fully supported by shinobi clans, said Yamanaka Inoichi. First Akamichi Shuza, then Inazuka Sume and Aburame Shibi stated their consent, then Nara Shikaku and Hyuga Hiyashi joined them as well. Kaharu smirked as she looked at the council and then at Tsunade's frowning face. It seems that the decision depends upon us, the advisors, she said while glancing towards her husband. I am against, she gave her vote first. Same goes for me, said Hamura, making Kaharu to smirk victoriously. I support the decision, came the surprising vote of Danzo. On receiving the questioning looks from all over the council chambers, he decided to elaborate his reasons. I know that Uchiha Sasuke is the last potentially loyal Uchiha of Konoha, but his thirst for power is unquenchable. He will do anything to gain power. Killing his own teammate and a fellow ally is not out of his accomplishments as evident. I say he is too unstable to get special treatment. From what I know, he is more power hungry than Uchiha Itachi ever was. If you want a repeat or worse, an upgraded version of Uchiha Massacre in Konoha, feel free to invite him to pull an Itachi on you. Murmurs started throughout the councilors as everyone started to consider what Danzo had pointed out. It was indeed a valid point, but they still couldn't just declare a bounty on Sasuke. Finally, the decision was made. Konoha will send their own hunter nins after the Uchiha while keeping his name away from bingo books at the same time. If Sasuke posed a threat to the village, he will be terminated, otherwise, Konoha will judge him for his mistakes, not crimes according to the advisors. Now I would like to propose that we engrave Uzumaki Naruto's name on the Great Stone of Cemetery, said Tsunade with a heavy heart. What do you mean, Tsunade? You yourself said that other villages shouldn't find out about Konoha losing its Jinchuriki. We shall do nothing like that, said Kaharu as she glared at the council for support, which civilian side was more than happy to provide her. Tsunade, I am not against your proposition, but there is nothing we can do regarding this, said Hamura while trying hard to get past the headache that was sure to come. I think we should drop the subject of the Jinchuriki. He is dead and there is nothing we can do about it. His body wasn't recovered, which makes it meaningless to make a grave or engrave his name anywhere. Death of a village's Jinchuriki should always remain a secret, said Danzo. And so, it was decided that the shinobi forces will be informed that Uzumaki Naruto was on a foreign mission. Soon the meeting ended and the whole village was celebrating the so-called guarded secret by the end of the day. Now for the most awaited part. Akatsuki Tower. Pain's office. Enough, thundered a voice from behind the Akatsuki members, forcing them to turn around slowly. Behind them stood two figures. The moonlight coming from the office window was making it impossible for them to be recognized. They were practically glowing in the bask of the moonlight, which gave them a mysterious appearance. Slowly but surely, both the figures started moving forward and revealed their faces to the Akatsuki members. Madara and a white Zetsu clone. Kakuzu spun on his heel to face the new leader of the organization, keeping his calm gaze on the orange mask of Madara. Hiraku, Sasori's puppet, turned around and addressed him in a gruff voice. What are you playing at? Yeah, this bitch's killed leader Sama, they deserve a painful death for killing Pain, HN, were the Mad Bomber's words. Kisame quickly chuckled. Painful death for killing Pain, hee hee, joked Kisame but quickly shut his mouth at the glare Madara sent him. Sighing, Madara moved forwards to stand between Pain's body and the members, the Zetsu clone quietly followed him. Peeking at the defeated forms of Konan and Itachi on the ground from the gaps in the standing Akatsukis, Madara smirked behind his mask. Perfect, now to deal with these fools, thought Madara before composing himself. Oi shithead, what the fuck? Flashback. Naruto, today I am going to tell you about all the other members of Akatsuki, stated Konan while staring at Naruto who was busy stuffing his face with as much food as his mouth could take. Shaking her head, she continued to observe her student while he finished his lunch. Itachi was trying very hard to make Naruto as powerful as possible in the given time. According to Naruto, he was a slave driver when it comes to physical training. Fortunately, Naruto was an Uzumaki, a very special one at that, who could take all that punishment and still stand for more. Finishing his meal, Naruto quickly downed some water from his canteen and wiped his face clean using a tissue handed to him by Konan. Alright, I am ready for the class, announced Naruto while focusing on Konan completely, another trait you couldn't have found in the old Uzumaki Naruto. Nodding at Naruto, Konan took out a file from under the desk, titled, Unauthorized. She quickly opened it and a photo appeared on top. The photo showed Yahiko aka the Diva Path of Pain. Name: Pain. Shinobi rank: SS rank. Akatsuki rank: O1 leader. Visual traits: spiky orange hair, 6 piercings on nose, 6 on each ear and 2 under the lower lip, metallic purple eyes with multiple concentric rings. More information confidential. Naruto read as he went over the information about his soon-to-be alias. I take that Nagato is training you in the ways of pain? Asked Konan while moving over to the next page. Naruto only nodded as he was too much interested in the file. The photo showed a large man with a cloth covering his head, he also had a mask on his face. Name: Kakuzu. Shinobi rank: S rank. Akatsuki rank: O2 treasurer. Visual traits: long black hair, dark skin color, red eyes with green pupils. More information confidential. Alright, let me tell you about Kakuzu. He is the one with most experience under his belt and from what I know, he once faced Shodai Hokage in battle and lived to tell the tale, so yeah, he is worthy of his position number 2, said Konan while trying to scrap out more information about Kakuzu from her head. She continued after a couple of seconds. Yes, he loves money and knows about every ninja in the elemental nations with high bounties on their head. He is the silent type but can be easily irritated, that's why he had killed his last 2 partners, stated Konan, completing Kakuzu's intro. Naruto listened intently and then turned the page to look at the next Akatsuki. The photo showed a younger Uchiha Itachi, Sharingan activated with a Boar Anbu mask on his head, wearing standard Konoha Anbu uniform complete with arm guards and tanto. Name: Uchiha Itachi. Shinobi rank: S rank. Akatsuki rank: O3 Genjutsu specialist. Visual traits: long jet black hair, a low ponytail, 2 scar-like marks on both cheeks. More information confidential. You already know Uchiha Itachi, but I will tell you some things that matter about him, said Konan while Naruto continued to look at the photo. Itachi is the loner, or you can say the calmest member of Akatsuki. His partner is Kisame and he likes Poke, lots of Poke because his groceries are always half filled with those Poke sticks. Probably the most loyal and trustable member as well as secretive one at that, but you already know that. Naruto just chuckled hearing this and turned towards the file. The photo showed Konan in her shinobi gear without the cloak. Name: Konan. Shinobi rank: S rank. Akatsuki rank: O4 advisor. Visual traits: silver blue hair, piercing under lower lip and on the navel, dark amber eyes with a origami flower in hairs. More information confidential. Now, about me, I like paper, origami especially. I am partnered with Pain, which means I will be your partner in your future missions as Pain. Conan gave a suspiciously short intro, but Naruto just nodded. He will find more about her soon after becoming her partner. There were two photos, one showed a red-haired young boy while the second one displayed a strange face. Name: Sasori. Shinobi rank: S rank. Akatsuki rank: O5 poison specialist. Visual traits: red hair, small height, dark red eyes. Visual traits of Hiraku: black face mask, hunched figure, titanium tail protruding from the back. More information confidential. Sasori prefers to stay in his puppet Hiraku, that's why there are two types of visual traits for Sasori. Conan informed Naruto as Naruto again turned to observe the photos in front of him. Conan observed him without saying anything for a minute, and then she continued. Sasori's own body is that of a puppet, he thinks that turning people in puppets increases their beauty. His patience is thin and can get restless in a matter of seconds, but never underestimate someone like him. He once took over a small country in a single night, using only his puppets. If his opponent is worthy, he makes a puppet out of them after defeating them. I think he has around 100 of those. Naruto's eyes grew wide on hearing this piece of information regarding his soon-to-be subordinate. Sasori was sure going to become a useful guy in his goals for the future. The photo showed a grinning Kisame who Naruto had met when he came to Konoha with Itachi. Name: Hoshigaki Kisame. Shinobi rank: S rank. Akatsuki rank: O6 the brute tail-less Biju. Visual traits: dark blue hair, large frame, fish-like white eyes, a large sword on the back. More information confidential. You have already met Kisame, so I'll tell you some important facts about him. Kisame loves the thrill of battle and shall do anything to get a tough fight. His sword, Shimehata, is one of the legendary swords of Amigakure and is very loyal to him. Conan lectured as Naruto continued to file the information for later use. He is a bonehead, but if you get his loyalty, there is nothing he won't do for you, said Conan with some pressure in her words, receiving a nod of understanding from Naruto as he turned the page. The photo showed a man in his early 30s with pale skin and bare chest, a scowl evident on his face. Name: Hidan. Shinobi rank: S rank. Akatsuki rank: O7 the priest. Visual traits: light silver flowing hair, red-purple eyes, a necklace with the symbol of Jishinism, a strange three-bladed red scythe. More information confidential. Who is he? Asked Naruto while pointing at Hidan in the photo. That is Hidan, the immortal. He ranks no 7 only because of his childish behavior and loud-mouthed speeches. If he was someone like, let's say, Itachi, then he would rank number 2. Only Pain can take him down without any risk, informed Conan as she continued to debrief Naruto. To kill a target, all he needs is a drop of blood of the opponent, and then he uses a strange ritual of Jishinism to inflict damage on himself, which is reflected on the victim. Being immortal himself enables him to survive fatal blows. His victims, on the other hand, are not so lucky, resulting in the victim's death, said Conan, completing her explanation. Naruto audibly gulped at the dangerousness of this guy, to think he was immortal and could kill you with a mere scratch. On noticing Naruto's uneasiness, Conan tried to help him a little. Don't worry, he's on our side, and as I have heard, no one is perfect, which implements on Hidan accurately as he is powerful, but his attitude of brash actions and outbursts balances it down perfectly, she said while hiding a smile. Nodding his head towards Conan, Naruto noticed how her lips turned upwards for a fraction of a second before her face went emotionless. Conan-san, you should smile more often, a smile suits you better than that an emotionless visage, stated Naruto absent-mindedly. Conan suddenly stiffened and turned her head to look at the photo of Pain in the papers she held. Ya no, Conan. You should smile more often, it suits you. Right, Jiraiya-sensei, Nagato. A sentence that once escaped Yahiko's lips came flooding into her mind. Along came a bright photo of Yahiko, smiling at her with eyes squeezed shut while his orange spiky hair flowed with the wind. Conan, you could try to smile more, at least for me, for Yahiko. I can't bear with this Konan who you have become, I want my friend back. This was what Nagato said to her that night, before Madara attacked him. Yahiko, Konan whispered under her breath, trying to control the tears threatening to fall. Who? Asked Naruto as he tried to duck his head under her face to see hers. Pushing away the curious blonde, Konan composed herself and straightened up while Naruto continued to give her confused glances. Alright, enough talk, move on to number 8, come on, Konan said while trying to appear as normal as her situation allowed. Taking a long-lasting glance at her face, Naruto begrudgingly turned his head to look at the next Akatsuki profile. The photo showed a blonde with pursed lips, glaring at the viewer with irritation. Name: Deidara. Shinobi rank: S rank. Akatsuki rank: 08 Explosion Specialist, the Mad Bomber. Visual traits: bright yellow blonde hair, high ponytail with a strand covering one eye, left telescopic eye, mouths one both hands, blue eyes. More information confidential. Deidara: I was former Mad Bomber, he was recruited by Itachi. Sasori reported that Itachi totally destroyed him, that's why he holds a deep hatred for the Uchiha. Thinks that blowing everything to bits is a work of art, uses Doden-style ninjutsu to make clay-based explosive creatures, all in all, a useful arrogant barely man who just wants to play with his clay toys, summed up Konan without a pause. Naruto only looked at her with wide eyes with a dumbfounded expression, but finally responded with the most intelligent words. Ew, those mouths are gross. Nodding towards the file, Konan motioned Naruto to turn the page. The photo showed Zetsu glaring at something in his hand while his cactus-like trap was opened slightly. Name: Zetsu. Shinobi rank: unranked. Akatsuki rank: 09 The Spy. Visual traits: half white half black, one green eye while other one a yellow orb, crossbreed between a human and a cactus. More information confidential. Long thing in short, he is the only one loyal to Madara, he reports to Madara only and can infiltrate any place in the world as long as it has a floor, or a wall. We suspect that he has his own alternative motives behind all this, but we are still not sure, Konan told Naruto while she surprised herself by realizing how little she knew about the strange member. Turning the next page, Naruto came face to face with his future enemy. The photo showed a man in an orange mask of swirls design, a hood drawn over his head while a lone Sharingan announced its presence from behind the mask via the single hole in it. Name: Toby. Shinobi rank: unknown. Akatsuki rank: 10 The Joker. Visual traits: dark short hair, orange swirl mask with single eye hole, suspected to have a single Sharingan eye. More information confidential. This is Toby aka Uchiha Madara. His real shinobi rank at the time of his supposed death was SS. From what I think, once the news of his return gets out in the shinobi world, it will be raised to SSS. He is the mastermind of every large event of power that had occurred in the last 20 years, including Kyuubi's rampage at Konoha. Konan hesitated before completing her sentence. Flashback ends. The fuck you think you are doing? Shouted Hidan as he pointed his scythe at Madara with murder his eyes. When all the standing members of the organization started to stare at him, expecting an answer for their questions, Madara ended his thoughts and turned to answer them. What I mean is that yes, they must be punished for their actions against Pain, against the Akatsuki. What I don't want is wasting good opportunities. Kakuzu, you can get 2 strong hearts out of these 2. The heart of an Uchiha such as Itachi would be ideal for your Kaden mask. Kakuzu just gave it a thought and nodded, making Madara to smile behind his mask. Turning to look at the other scientist of the organization, he continued. Sasori, I am sure Konan's paper-style ninjutsu will be just as useful to you as Itachi's Uchiha prowess, after you turn them into your trustworthy puppets, that is. Sasori turned to glance at the fallen pair and contemplated the proposal. On one hand he will get the most powerful prodigy of Uchiha clan and a rare type of ninjutsu, on the other hand he will be violating some of his own rules. The offer is quite tempting, I will give you that, but I respect Uchiha Itachi too much to turn him into a mindless puppet. "No thanks," answered Sasori while everyone around him gave him a surprised look. Madara frowned a little but then smirked again. "Then I guess they will be given to Hidan for his ritual, if you are willing to take them," he said, glancing at Hidan who suddenly started to grin from ear to ear. "Hell yeah, two powerful shinobi such as these two will definitely impress Jashin-sama. As for the Itachi's Mangekyo, I can find some as for it." "So everyone content with this punishment?" he asked, already knowing the answer. When everyone gave their consent one by one, Madara started to grin behind his mask. These fools were playing in his hands just the way he wanted. Mere pawns, thought Madara as he nodded towards all of them. "Alright then. Zetsu will take the hearts and eyes out. You all are welcome to see the procedure if you please, as I guess there is no point in delaying," he asked slowly, but when no one objected, he continued. "Zetsu, will you please do the honor?" stated Madara as he motioned behind his back towards the white Zetsu clone standing behind him, near Pain's body. He waited, and waited, and waited. Turning around with all the other Akatsukis, Madara came face to face with an overwhelming sight. The white Zetsu clone stood there, eyes widened, a look of shock on his usually grinning face. He tried to gulp, that's right, he tried, as the strong grip of a clenched hand on his neck from behind prevented him from succeeding. "What?" the Zetsu squeaked out as the hand around his neck started to tighten its grip. Zetsu's hand quickly shot upwards towards his neck to try and somehow escape from the death grip. Struggling with the amazingly strong hand, the Zetsu started to lose the sight of other Akatsukis in front of him. "Gluck!" struggled the clone before the hand crushed his neck, destroying the spinal cord with one swift crunch. "What is this?" shouted Madara, but was unluckily ignored. The eyes of the clone rolled upwards as his world went dark, tongue sticking out with hands slinging limply on his side. Before anyone to utter any more words, the body of the clone was torn in half with pure brute strength of his killer's hands. The clone's body reduced to shreds, revealing glowing purple eyes of death himself. The killing intent was suffocating. Everyone was forcefully rooted to their places as they struggled to stay vertical, knees bucking under the tremendous pressure. 6 piercings on nose. 6 piercings on each ear. 2 piercings under the lower lip. Shiny orange unruly spiky hair. "Pain. Leader Sama," cried Hidan as he was about to make a mad dash towards the said man, but one sharp look of those godly eyes stopped him dead in his tracks. Those orbs scanned the room thoroughly, meeting the gaze of each and every Akatsuki standing, before falling on the two downed forms of Itachi and Konan. Confusion crossed the Rinnegan, which then turned into anger and then in pure fury. The killing intent, already seemingly on impossible heights, increased tenfolds. "What is the meaning of this? Pain? How is it possible? No, it can't be. He can't be alive," were the questions that crossed the mind of one Uchiha Madara. The bandages wrapped around Pain's body started to turn crimson due to the bleeding caused by the use of strength just after the ritual. "Leader Sama, your bandages," said Kisame as he pointed towards the crimson bandages covering Pain's chest and torso. "It's nothing, Kisame," said the Akatsuki leader before again glancing at Itachi and Konan. "Take them to the medic bay on the lower level. Tell the doctor that if they aren't recovering in half an hour, I'll show him why I'm considered a god," ordered Pain as Kisame shuffled to pick the duo on the ground. Just as he was picking up Konan, she groaned a little in pain. "Easy," warned Pain as his eyes were following every movement made by the shark look-alike. Lifting them carefully and slinging them on his shoulder, Kisame gulped and gave a short bow to Pain, even though it looked like a nod. Kisame quickly exited the room, a sudden urgency in his pace. Pain turned to glare at the remaining Akatsuki before focusing his gaze at Kakuzu, who stared back at him with little fear evident in his eyes and expressions. "Start talking," ordered Pain as he started to glare at Madara, who was still thinking the reasons behind these sudden unlikely developments. "After you disappeared, the organization was in shambles. No one knew how to function as an organization, as we all are used to working under your command. So, Toby revealed himself as Uchiha Madara and took control of the Akatsuki. We may have protested, but with your disappearance, I decided that it was the best course of action, said Kakuzu. Then today Madara came to us a while ago and informed us that you were dead and it was Itachi and Konan who killed you for their own benefits. Instinctively we attacked, completed Sasori while Deidara was finding his hand a lot more interesting than Pain's intense gaze. I see, said Pain as he started to think a little. Gathering his thoughts was proving to be quite a chore for him right now. All these thoughts, these memories flooding his brain were just overwhelming. His head was throbbing without a pause and he was finding it difficult just to stand. The display of power that he presented earlier was a necessity to show that Pain was still in fighting condition, should Madara decided to challenge him. Observing the man in front of him with shock, Madara finally decided to make his presence known. How in the world are you alive? I saw you die. Konan was doing some type of operation on you. He asked, cleverly asking his intended question and covering for him as well at the same time. Turning his head to look at the masked shinobi, Pain failed to hide the scowl that appeared on his face. I never died. I think it's suffice to say that I was suffering from some disease and was incapacitated for a while. As for the operation performed by Konan, it was for the betterment of my health, which succeeded if me standing here is any indication. Itachi, I trust him enough to leave him with my body to guard me while I am unable to defend myself, answered Pain, not just for Madara, but also for everyone present. Taking a breath, Pain turned towards his bed and sat on it, observing his subordinates with keen interest shining through those purple orbs. What are you all waiting for? Get out. Everyone nodded and moved to leave their leader in peace for some much-needed rest, but before any of them could exit the room, Pain spoke up. And I am taking the leadership back. Akatsuki was my organization, it will remain as such in future, dismissed. Next day, 10:30 a.m., Akatsuki Med Bay. Pain, adorning his Akatsuki cloak, was walking towards the small set of doors in the dark corridor's end. Nurses and doctors were quickly bowing to him as they went to do their work. The presence of Pain alone was enough to ignite fear and awe in them. After all, how many could say that they had seen the almighty Rinnegan from so up close and lived to tell about it? A doctor wearing a lab coat and a pair of spectacles approached him, unknowingly obscuring his path. Pain quickly stopped in his stroll and his gaze shifted to rest on the face of his obstacle. The doctor shuffled uncomfortably and tried to look at Pain's feet in order to avoid his dangerous and intimidating gaze. Pain only raised an invisible eyebrow at that but decided to end the confrontation as fast as possible. Move, Pain whispered calmly while his eyes shifted to focus on the set of doors behind the doctor. Huh, was the smart reply of the four-eyed doc. You are in my way, move or I'll do it for you, was the answer that greeted the doctor. All the staff nearby was standing stark still, observing the conversation if you could call it that. Eyes shifting from the powerful shinobi to the idiot of a doctor stopping him. Oh, sorry Pain-sama. Gomen, spluttered the doctor as he shifted to a side, giving Pain a clear path to move forward. Pain didn't move though and continued to observe the bonehead for a while with narrowed eyes. Feeling the powerful gaze on him, the doctor came back to reality and remembered the reason he had blocked Pain's path in the first place. Pain-sama, we tried our best for stabilizing both Itachi-san and Konan-san. I would like to inform you that even if we succeeded, the injuries were too great to heal in a night. She will have to take bed rest for at least a week to get back in her previous condition. You mean Konan? Asked Pain while he suddenly started to move towards the wards with desperation in his steps, followed by the doctor, conversation still going. Yes, that was about the lady, answered the doctor while his gaze remained fixed on the floor. Pain glanced at the man following him with a tilted head. What about Itachi? Itachi-san is a little different. His body was already damaged from inside when he got in that fight, as I was informed. Operating on him took us some time, but once Konan-san regained consciousness, she helped a great deal. He will be discharged in a couple of days, though I would suggest he takes it easy for a while, answered the still unknown doctor. Pain nodded and reached out to grasp the doorknob in his hand and turned it, but before opening it, he turned to glance at the doctor still standing at attention beside him. What's your name? T. Takeshi. Dr. Takeshi, answered Takeshi as he gave nod. No last name. I was an orphan from the very first day of my life, so, yeah. No last name, I guess. Hee. Sorry. Pain stared at him a while longer and Takeshi took that as a sign to leave. Just before he turned to leave, Pain started. It's good to see that I have people like you to take care of Akatsuki. Stay the way you are and someday, maybe I will give you a reason to live. Takeshi's eyes widened in disbelief and he turned around to look at the Akatsuki leader, but all he saw was the door closing. After standing there for a while with a look of surprise on his face, Takeshi finally turned and left to do his work. Wondering about the day, Pain talked about. Entering the ward, Pain's eyes immediately landed on a sleeping Conan. A look of foreign emotion crossed his eyes for the briefest of moments before he suppressed it with the look of relief. Her facial features were hypnotizing to him while he observed the curve of her jawline from his position near the door. Her relaxed posture and even breathing was alluring while he found it hard to tear his eyes away from her pale lips. He just wanted to feel her warmth and... Where did that come from? Wait, what am I thinking? Thought Pain, but before he could think any more, his musings were disturbed when his feet started to move on their own. Unknown to him, two sets of eyes were following his every movement, one with a look of understanding while other with a look of pure surprise and confusion. Just as Pain started to move towards Conan's bed, two voices stopped him dead in his tracks. Leader Sama, sounding confused. I don't think it would be a great idea to wake her up now, sounding amused. Turning his head to look at the other side of the room, Pain saw an amused-looking Itachi with a knowing look on his face, sitting in a hospital bed whilst a confused Kisame was sitting near his bed on a stool, Shimehata surprisingly missing from the scene. When Pain made no move to come towards his bed, Itachi noticed the expressionless look he was shooting towards Kisame. Sighing, Itachi quickly said, Kisame, thanks for visiting me, but if you will excuse us now. Kisame turned his head to give Itachi the same confused look that he was giving Pain for the last 5 minutes. Please Kisame, I have things to discuss with Leader Sama, said Itachi while leaning back in his bed. Kisame slowly nodded and stood up, giving a nod to both Itachi and Pain. He strolled out of the room, locking the door behind his back. Just as the tip-taps of Kisame's feet faded away in the corridor, Pain moved to sit in the stool previously occupied by the large shark-like man. Itachi followed his every movement with calculative gaze and then locked eyes with him. Who are you? Was the simple question that escaped Itachi's lips. Pain gave him a confused look and represented it with the world's most famous word. What? I mean, which one are you? Nagato or Naruto, which one? Pain turned his head to look out of the small window, gazing at the Tyndall effect of the light coming in. Finally sighing and raising his left hand to look at it while flexing his fingers, he answered. I don't know, I guess I am just me. What do you mean, just me? Asked Itachi with an alarmed expression showing on his face. Pain stared in Itachi's eyes and then decided to elaborate. I think you can say that I am 50% Naruto, 20% Nagato, 15% Kyuubi. At this, Itachi's eyes grew wide with disbelief, but the real shock came in the last line. Add 15%, Yahiko. Impossible. How can this be possible? Exclaimed Itachi in an uncharacteristic nature. Don't worry Itachi, slowly but surely, Naruto persona will overcome others, there is no need to worry. Said Pain, trying to calm high nerves down. No, how can be your math so good? Itachi joked a little, calm his own nerves down, gaining a quizzical look of irritation from Pain, who decided to let this one slide. Itachi started to shake his head. No, this is not happening, thought Itachi before looking at the man in front of him. How can you be 4 living souls in one single body? He finally asked the most confusing question. I am just Naruto. Believe me, what I meant is I can. Looking at his palm, understand their hatred. Looking at his legs beneath him, remember their sufferings and memories. Finally turning his head to look at the still peacefully sleeping beauty on the other side of the room. And feel their feelings, he finished while smiling a little as Conan shifted in her sleep. Itachi noticed this and placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. Pain turned his head to meet his eyes. Go to her side, it will make you feel better as it may feel the same for her, said Itachi while giving him a proud yet small smile. Pain just hung his head and shook his head. That's the problem. It will only make her uncomfortable. I must stay away from her for a while. These feelings are new and confusing for me too, he said while again glancing out of the window. Itachi noticed the sadness in his voice, but before he could point it out, another thing caught his attention. Pain's eyes were shining in the sunlight coming from the window, but his Rinnegan wasn't reflecting the sunlight like it should have. What's with your eyes? There is something off with them, right? Asked Itachi while activating his Sharingan to look at the Rinnegan. Pain turned towards him to face his Sharingan, smiling a little. So you noticed, huh? As expected from the infamous Uchiha Itachi, he said in a mockery. Okay. Now tell me, what is it? I couldn't find any problems with them via my Sharingan, asked Itachi with a scowl on his face. It's a genjutsu, simple as that, answered Pain as he made a ram seal to temporarily disable the genjutsu. The genjutsu lifted to reveal the red eyes of Yahiko. Itachi observed that they weren't the deep blue eyes of Naruto, nor were they silver-purple ones of Rinnegan, they were dark red like that of the Kyuubi. How? I mean, my Sharingan could have easily detected a genjutsu, I am sure of that, so how? Wait. Scratch that. Who did you performed a genjutsu, much less an anti-Sharingan one? Asked a bewildered yet calm-looking Itachi. All these surprises were making it difficult to maintain his usual stoic face. Actually, if you had used your Mangekyo, you may have seen through that genjutsu, but the point is, I think I may have activated my own Sharingan. Remember, you donated some blood for this body as well as mine. I theorized that the stress of the whole ritual forced the Uchiha genes present in that blood to take charge and alter my genes, because when I woke up, I had enhanced vision for a while. I used all my remaining chakra plus Kyuubi's chakra to cast this genjutsu on my eyes, answered Pain as he massaged his chin in thought. From what Kyuubi told me, I have the Rinnegan, but it is in dormant stage in my blood and will reveal itself in the time of need, or something like that, stated Pain as a matter of factly. So you can talk to Kyuubi, even after the ritual? Asked Itachi as he gave it a thought. Yeah, I can. Why'd you ask? Because the real Kyuubi is still sealed in Uzumaki Naruto's body, answered Itachi, gaining a surprised look from Pain. I think I shall ask the fox about it later. Now then, how do I activate my Sharingan? Asked Pain with little excitement. Oh yeah, try imagining Conan in danger, it should do the trick, answered Itachi with hidden amusement. Pain gave him a confused as well as a suspicious glare, but compiled anyways. Closing his eyes, he imagined what he was told to and opened them after a while. Itachi glanced at him and gave a nod of understanding. You indeed have the Sharingan, a fully matured stage 3 at that. It was the ritual's pressure, that's for sure, because there is no way you would have activated a level 3 Sharingan otherwise, stated Itachi in his monotone. Pain just nodded and calmed down a little, Sharingan fading from his eyes and his Rinnegan genjutsu coming back to cover the red eyes of Yahiko. What happened after both of us were defeated? Kisame won't tell me anything, asked Itachi as he shifted a little to get comfortable in his bed. Nothing much. I just killed a Zetsu clone, scared the shit out of Hidan and Deidara, gave Sasori and Kakuzu a death glare and took back the leadership from Madara. That's it, Pain summed up without skipping a heartbeat. Madara is not a fool, he took your body before the fighting began. He intends to do something with it, something dangerous, I just hope it is not what I think it is, informed Itachi as he lied down on his pillow with a serious expression back on his visage. Come on, Itachi, that body was as good as dead when we performed the ritual. Believe me when I say this, there is nothing he can do to make it useful in any way possible, scoffed the new Pain. It seems that you are underestimating your former Uzumaki body. That body is capable of many great feats, little brother, you can take my word for that, answered an amused Itachi. Whatever you say, we'll deal with it if it comes back to bite us in our backs in the future, dismissed Pain. You should work on your choices of words, try speaking more like Pain than Naruto. Advised Itachi as Pain just nodded in his way. A comfortable silence fell around the two males as they continued to run their brains for the situation that they were facing right now. Finally, Pain stood up and turned to face Itachi. Well, I will leave you to rest then, I have a meeting with other members in a moment, wish me luck, he said while turning to walk towards the door. You don't need any luck, just don't get irritated by Hidan and Deidara and you'll be fine, called Itachi from his position in bed. Pain reached to open the door but stopped when Itachi spoke up again. You know, she fought with everything she had, that woman. Even when Kakuzu was throwing her all over the room like a rag doll, she managed to piss off the walking zombie. She is a fighter from the heart, I can tell, said Itachi while throwing a glance towards the sleeping blue head. Pain turned to look at the face of Conan, and smiled. Yes, she is a fighter, but deep down she is still a scared girl who wants nothing more than a hand to yank her out of the horrors of her past, whispered Pain as he continued to look at the mentioned woman. You know, that hand can be yours, said Itachi with some expectation in his voice, gazing at Pain's facial expressions. Pain gave a real genuine smile, the first smile Itachi had ever seen on that face. I intend to Itachi, I intend to, and I hope it's in time. Akatsuki meeting chamber. Everyone from the last night was assembled in the meeting area. Pain was sitting at the head of the table with both the seats on his side vacant, symbolizing the absence of two of his most trusted Akatsuki members. Finally, when Hidan and Deidara stopped bickering with each other, Pain started to address his subordinates. What happened last night was a clear indication of the lack of trust among our ranks, there is no point in denying it. That's why I have decided to dissolve the paired teams for the future missions. From now on, the teams will be assigned as per the mission's requirements, announced Pain as he observed everyone for any signs of objection. Kakuzu, I want you to start hunting for high bounties. The organization was inactive of a while and the mission requests have declined exponentially, we can use some finances. Kisame, you are assigned to pair up with Kakuzu for this mission and please, stay alive after this trip of yours. Kakuzu nodded while Kisame only grunted in response. Turning to look at Sasori, Pain continued. Sasori, I want you to plant new spies and sleeper cells in every village of elemental nations, not just the great 5 hidden villages, but also in the small merchant villages. There is something I need you to find the location of. Moreover, start building your puppet weapons, soon we shall commence the hunt of bijus. Sasori nodded and asked a simple question. Who will be my partner, leader? No one. I know that you have problems dealing with the likes of Hidan and Deidara, that's why I am assigning you this solo mission as I trust you can perform better that way, answered Pain, gaining a nod from the puppet user. Very well, it shall be done, said Sasori. What about me, HN? Asked Deidara as he leaned forward in his chair over the table. You and Hidan are going to start acting like proper shinobi, you must change that attitude of yours before coming back from this next mission of yours, Pain said as he motioned towards both Hidan and Deidara, who scowled but nodded anyways. You and Hidan are going to Kurigakure no Sato, there is a civil war raging there. I want you to have some pastime there and try to take control of that village at the same time, it may prove beneficial for us in the future. You are allowed to make as many sacrifices as you like and as many explosions as you can, just return in one single piece, that's for you Deidara, Hidan can skip this instruction. Hidan grinned at this and jumped up. Hell yeah, now you're talking like a leader. Watch out Kiri bitches, here I come. Deidara just face-palmed at this and gave Pain the meanest look he could muster. Compared to him, I would have loved to have a mission with Itachi, muttered Deidara, but unfortunately, Hidan heard him. Hey fucker, ya want a piece eh, me, huh? Come on Bombi, let's get those bitches yeah. With that Hidan took off out of the door, straight to Kiri. Deidara looked at the stoic Kakuzu and pointed an accusing finger at his face. Ha, I saw it. You were laughing behind that shitty mask of yours. I saw your face twitch, you lucky. Before he could finish his sentence, Pain thundered. Shut up. Get to your assignments, now. Deidara quickly ran out of the room without even a single glance behind his back. Kakuzu with a twitch in his eyebrow quickly stood up and left as well. Zetsu, I want you to make a trip to Konoha and find out the situation of the village. Also while you are at it, try keeping tabs on the whereabouts of Orochimaru. We have allowed that snake to roam our lands for too long. Pain said as the plant-like man gave a nod and dissolved in the floor, surprisingly along with his chair. Turning to face the masked man on the opposite side of his seat, Pain addressed Madara. I want you to try and recruit some more Akatsuki members from the bingo books, S-ranked shinobis of course. I think we'll need them in near future. I take you can do that. Madara remained silent at this while Kisame and Sasori stared towards him without any expressions on their faces. Finally he nodded but gave a snide comment. I know what I have to do in this situation, Pain, he said and quickly left in a swirl of air. He is getting out of your hands, leader, stated Sasori as he looked at Pain, who was still staring at the seat occupied by Madara moments ago. I know, but I still have use of him, once he is no longer of use. I see, Sasori said as he gave a curt nod. Will you do that to everyone else as well, once they have fulfilled their purpose and role in your plans? Asked Kisame as he glared at the man in front of him. Pain only corked an eyebrow as he noticed the interested look Sasori sent his way. As long as your loyalty lies with the Akatsuki and for as long as you keep following the orders, I guarantee your safety. If it makes you feel safe, then hear this. I will fight alongside you, stand between you and your death, protect you, heal you, save you, but, if you betrayed me, I will make you beg for death under my feet, answered Pain as he glanced at both of them one by one. Both Kisame and Sasori nodded content with the reply and stood up. It seems that their leader has changed a little. Dismissed. Finished Pain as he himself walked out of the chambers, flanked by both Kisame and Sasori alike. Madara's chambers. After the meeting, Madara appeared in a swirl, his feet gently coming in contact with the cold floor, while his eyes scanned his surroundings as if searching for something. Finding what he was searching for in the form of Zetsu standing in a corner, he quickly fast steps and made his way towards his loyal follower. He was feeling excitement after years of emotionless life. It was to be expected because he was sure if the real Uchiha Madara was here, he too would have expressed his excitement in some way or another. The perfect weapon, perfect subordinate to manipulate, the perfect demon to do his bidding was finally under his control. Reaching Zetsu, he asked in a commanding tone. What's the status, Zetsu? Is he ready or not? Turning around to look at his master, White Zetsu gave him a grin and motioned towards a figure sitting on a bed in the dark corner of the room, completely still with only the slight shifts in his posture indicating his breathing. He is ready, Toby, and there is something that will make you a lot happy, said White Zetsu as he started to grin maniacally. What is it? Asked Toby as he moved to take his seat in the throne situated in the middle of the chamber. Sitting down, his Sharingan spinning madly behind the mysterious mask as he gazed at the figure of one formerly known as Uzumaki Naruto. Zetsu moved to stand beside him and sat in a side chair in the dark. I detected 0 chakra of the real one in this body. Uzumaki Naruto is perfectly and definitely dead. Traces of Kyuubi's chakra are still scattered throughout his chakra system, but they will settle down in the form of the Kyuubi, eventually, informed Black Zetsu as he continued to glance at Madara. Toby. I think we should start his training. From what I heard from Itachi, he is quite exceptional with the use of cage bunshin. They may serve as a useful tool to accelerate his training considerably, suggested a surprisingly serious White Zetsu while he glanced in the direction of Naruto before going back to gaze at Madara's features. Yes, I will start his training in a couple of days. Pain wants some new recruits, I will give him a powerhouse soon enough. But the use of cage bunshin will only degrade his training's quality. Have you forgotten how Madara trained me? I shall train him the same. I want quality above quantity and speed. It doesn't matter how much jutsus one knows, what matters is how good can one perform them. Answered Toby as he stood up and started to move towards the figure in the dark. Zetsu quickly fell behind him in the steps. If you think you can train him the same way you were trained once, then there is something you should know, said White Zetsu as he stopped just behind Toby, in front of the figure. Toby just raised his hand and touched the chin of the boy. His hair were blocking his eyes and there was evident stiffness in his muscles. He will need some light training for a while, but I don't have time for that, thought Toby as he yanked at his hand to pull Naruto's head upwards. Shining red Sharingan eye met dull and dead pair of Sharingan eyes. What is the meaning of this, Zetsu? That's what I was trying to tell you. He had them active at the time of his revival and they can't be switched off, informed Zetsu as he took a step back to increase the distance between him and Toby, whose shoulders shook in anger. Suddenly Toby started to bark out laughter. Cold malicious laughter echoed throughout the chambers as he tried to control himself. This just became far more interesting than I imagined, Zetsu. Ha 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 ha, exclaimed Toby as he spun on his heels to go in the darkness of his quarters. Zetsu followed his movements with a confused stare before asking a question present in his mind. Surely we can't refer to him as Uzumaki Naruto, right? So what do we call him? Madara whispered something before disappearing in the darkness. We call him Uchiha Obito.